All right, it looks like we're good. Looks like we're ready to get started. So, yeah, this is something that I actually wanted to do because I've talked to Godzilla about it. I talked to a couple of people on Discord about it, but never given my full opinion on this matter. So, let's just go ahead and get started and I'll explain a little bit more. Yo, peoples! Kyushu92 here, and welcome to a session where we are going to watch the Actman's The Never-Ending Decline of Xbox. Now, mind you, I'm a person that just loves playing on PlayStation. Notice that I don't say that I love Sony, because Sony has made some very dumb decisions, and I don't put that on I separate Sony from PlayStation. Even though Sony's in charge of PlayStation and everything PlayStation related, if I say I love something PlayStation related, that does not necessarily mean that I love Sony, because like I said, they made some dumb decisions. We all remember that whole Helldivers 2 fiasco where they tried to make people get PlayStation accounts, and that includes people on PC in order to play the game. That went about as well as you would expect, and it was just a oh wait, I'm sorry. I am sorry. I forgot. I hit the wrong button. I thought you guys could see me. I'm sorry. I was hitting the wrong button, but let me just say everything that I said again, because you guys couldn't even see me the first time. But yeah. You guys get the whole gist. Just because I say I like something PlayStation game related. But yeah, yo, people's Q92 here, yada yada yada. Just because I say I like something PlayStation related does not mean I necessarily like something that Sony does. Because, like, we remember Helldivers, we remember how that went. It went just as bad as well as Sony probably never expected it to go. But, when corpos make these dumb decisions, it kind of leads to massive backlash. Psycho, it's good to see you. Sorry, I forgot to put my face on screen so you guys could see me. But that's Sony. That's Sony. They've made some dumb decisions in the past. They have, especially recently, but not as bad as Microsoft. Now, mind you, I'm separating Microsoft and Xbox from one another, but due to the recent decisions from Microsoft, that line between Microsoft and Xbox as a whole, it is so undeniably blurred that it's hard to tell what's gaming anymore for Xbox and what most would consider just straight up entertainment. So we're going to check out the never-ending decline of Xbox. We're going to talk about it because there's some things about Microsoft and Xbox that I really want to get my point across, because this isn't the first time that I've spoken about Xbox in any capacity. I've had numerous streams and numerous conversations with people concerning Xbox, and some people even considering getting PlayStation instead, because at least with PlayStation, you're getting games. With Microsoft, you're getting games occasionally, where it should be this thing that you're getting from Xbox all the time. But we'll get into it once we get started.
There's nothing that's more difficult for me than disappointing the Xbox community.
Xbox has been in the freaking dirt for years now. And at this point, I don't know what it's going to take for these suckers to start finally picking up the broken pieces and rebuilding themselves back up into the brand that we used to know with the Xbox 360.
They shut down not one, not two, not three, but 4 studios.
And that means that Xbox has now closed more studios than it's released games this year.
Way I see it, best thing we can do is let the week go. Move on, get our money, start over.
This is a studio that was on the rise. You can tell they're very talented. They knocked it out of the park with Hi-Fi Rush, gave Xbox some of the...
It's crazy what happened to Tango Game Works with Xbox concerning Hi-Fi Rush. There's absolutely no way you're going to allow a game that just flew under everyone's radar. No one knew anything about Hi-Fi Rush, but then its surprise drop out of nowhere became a smash hit, won awards, made a ton of money, and then you shut the whole studio down. Feels like something stuck in my tooth. Hold on. Hold on. Give me a sec. Give me a sec. There's something stuck in my tooth. And it's annoying me. Okay. Whatever was in my tooth, it's out now. Let's continue. It's crazy what happened to Tango Game Works. They made The Evil Within, they did Hi-Fi Rush, and they also did Ghostwire Tokyo. Y'all know I covered that whole game on my channel. Both the original game, playing until I platinumed the game, and then played its big Spider's Web update with like its roguelite and everything. I never played Hi-Fi Rush, but I probably will in the future. But it's crazy how something successful gets canned a little later, just a little bit later on. It is insane how a whole studio got shut down. And then later on, you have like Matt Booty, who's in charge of Xbox, basically say, literally the day after crushing Tango Game Works, saying, we need more games like Hi-Fi Rush. I'm sorry? How does that make sense to you? How are you going to say we need more studios like the ones we just closed down? Maybe you shouldn't have closed it down, but I'm already getting preemptive. I'm not even a full minute into this video.
The best
I'm
press
sorry.
they've received in a while. And what does Microsoft do?
Gaming.
And the Game Award goes to Hi-Fi Rush.
Not that you care too much about that, you rats. Only
When Tango wants to go do Hi-Fi, when everybody probably thought they were doing Evil Within 3, I want to give the teams the creative platform to go and push their ability, push their aspirations.
You're all liars and all goodwill.
Your designs. What's going on, designs? Kyushu, you are a Sony enjoyer? No, I am not a Sony enjoyer. I am a PlayStation enjoyer. And you are watching Xbox getting bashed. I'm not hating on them. I'm not hating on Xbox. I'm hating on Microsoft mismanaging Xbox. Because for all these Xbox players out there, they're not getting much. And I've always been an advocate for every game system should be respectful to their players, should be respectful to the studios that they, encourage to make games that essentially keeps them in business. I've always been an advocate for that. I'm not just a person that just plays on PlayStation. I want everyone from every single console to enjoy themselves as well. However, what's happening with Microsoft towards Xbox in that same sentence? The shareholders need their money. Okay, so no one cares if the shareholders need their money, because the shareholders are not going to get any money if consumer interest in the thing that makes them money is at an all-time low. You understand? It's just how do these shareholders expect to make money if people are not buying their products and not keeping that cycle of supply and demand going, if what they're supplying isn't being demanded at all? I'm not going to say PlayStation's better. I'm not going to say Xbox is better. I'm not even going to say Nintendo Switch or even PC is better. I'm just going to say, if you are in the business of making money by having people make stuff that makes you money, then keep doing that. And if someone succeeds under your banner, if they make you millions of dollars, they're successful, people like them, they're giving you good publicity, encouragement of, hey, Hi-Fi Rush is really, really good. I may just need to get an Xbox to play that. Now that's no longer the case because now Hi-Fi Rush is on PlayStation, so that kind of defeats the purpose of a lot of people getting an Xbox. Because there's a lot of things on PlayStation right now, but Xbox is not doing what is necessary to keep their players interested in their brand. No one cares if the shareholders need their money. Because the shareholders are not, they're not in charge of giving us basically what we want in order to give them money. So I couldn't care less about the shareholders. I'm more interested in, are you making games? Are you making good games? Are you making good games and trusting these studios to continue making these good games? And if their game is a success, are you trusting them to make more? Because if someone like Tango Game Works can make something such that is so incredibly successful as Hi-Fi Rush, and then they get canned regardless of their success, it means nobody's safe. You can't trust your own security. The corpos care and the corpos make the decisions. Right. Sure they do. Sure they care. They care only about lining their own pockets. Corps all have always been out of touch. Always. It's no longer about like, let's make things that people can enjoy so we can then make money from that. And then just keep that going. People are liking what we're doing. Let's keep doing that. But no, as it stands right now, and I know we're going to get back to the video, as it stands right now, it's insane that these corporals are out here making these decisions saying like, this studio didn't make the money that we really wanted them to make. So now let's go through a restructuring and just get rid of them. Even though their game was successful and that pushed morale for our brand up. Let's just get rid of them. Then the very next day, let's say we need more games made by this very same studios we just fired. How can you expect anyone to trust you? I'm sorry, let's continue on.
Is now completely thrown out the window. I am now back to being extremely skeptical about Xbox.
So the idea of flushing a humongous amount of their pool of talent down the toilet right now at a time when they need games more than ever, it's absurd. It's beyond absurd.
It feels like the final straw. I've never seen this much criticism and negativity surrounding Xbox right now because of what they've just done.
It's not that hyper.
It's crazy, okay? It's crazy how Xbox has made so many recent decisions that have not garnered good faith for a long period of time. It's crazy. I'm not trying to bash on Xbox. I'm more so focused on Microsoft mismanaging basically a gold mine. Well, what was once a gold mine. And now they just decided, you know what? I'm going to turn my brain off on what brought us money and focus on trying to make it so that we're making money, but we're not really thinking everything through. People don't make games that they themselves would play. It's not about what is fun. See, here's the thing though. There are still studios like that. There are still plenty of studios like that when the publishers trust them. There are plenty of people out there who are capable of making games that they themselves would play. But it's not as plentiful as it used to be. Like, remember, there were old games, PlayStation 2, Xbox 360 games. Some Xbox 360 games would have like behind the scenes look at development for a video game, and you would see the devs themselves actually playing the game, not just creating the game, but also testing it, playing it, enjoying it if it was good, or just enjoying it in general. But now you really don't get too many. Well, I can't say that. I can't say that because you still get plenty of studios that will show you behind the scenes look of what they're doing, and some people will still be playing their games while they're developing it, but it's not as big as it used to be.
Hyperbolic to say that Xbox did die a little bit. It died in my heart a little bit.
I don't get you. Don't get you no more.
Microsoft is in a situation where I really feel like they have no idea what to actually do with their brand anymore.
Oh, the doubting. The doubting.
When you have a successful studio, when you have a successful game, and you still get completely shut down.
You did everything right.
Everybody laid off.
You're gonna disagree with me, but I hope Sony follows in Microsoft's footsteps. I'd really love to play Dark Souls Remake and Bloodborne on PC. Isn't Bloodborne already on PC, or am I thinking of some other games? I might be thinking of some other games. It's not necessarily Sony following in Microsoft's footsteps, because Sony putting their games on PC is not a Microsoft brand thing to do. They just do that because it's Microsoft. But I wouldn't say that Sony is following in Microsoft's footsteps, because if they were following in Microsoft's footsteps, we wouldn't trust Sony. Period. I'm just saying.
Did everything right. What does that tell future people that work for Microsoft, that get purchased by Microsoft?
Means no one's safe.
If these two aren't safe with a $3 trillion company backing them, nobody is safe. Nobody.
See, I just said it. I just said this. If a studio can't be trusted by a business that makes trillions of dollars, not millions, not billions, but trillions of dollars, if they can't trust that they'll be able to keep working with them after they make something successful, then what does that mean for any other studio under their banner? I still don't get it. How is it you can succeed and still get fired? How does that work? You make the money. You make people like you more. And you still fire them for what?
Nobody in the games industry is safe. No studio you love is safe. Everyone is at risk of being shut down.
It's just good business. This is a world where nothing is solved. And someone once told me time is a flat circle.
What's up, everybody? This is the Act Man here, and today, in this video, you will learn why the Xbox brand is failing, why they're not producing or releasing many top-tier titles anymore, how Phil Spencer's Game Pass business model is inherently flawed, and why nearly all of the major franchises from the 360 era are either dead on life support or taking an indefinite vacation. Happy times! Today you will learn why the Xbox continues its never-ending decline. Are you ready to stop being a casual? Studies show that 9 out of 10 gamers who install Opera GX will not only touch grass, but feel the warmth of a woman's touch within the first month. Scholars believe this is because Opera GX is the best in—
I'm gonna cast just a little bit of doubt on that. I'm not saying it's 100% untrue. I'm just saying that the percentage of that actually happening is very, very slim.
Internet browser for gamers. GX gives you an insane amount of customization in your browsing experience.
Also, I've never used Opera GX. Is it any good? Does anyone know? Does anyone know if Opera GX is actually good? Corps and gamings need to go the way of the dodo. If you can't entertain, then you don't need to be around eating up money. See, when you say that, the corpos think that the studios who need money in order to make the games for the corpos, they think they're the ones eating up money. Now, if you are poor at your job, if you are poor at managing, then of course they are going to be... Of course they're going to be eating up resources all over the place, to the point where it was all like, yeah, we can't do this anymore. It's too much. We got to get rid of some people because this other thing is eating up so much information, so many resources. That was the way of Crystal Dynamics. Crystal Dynamics was eating up so many resources for Square Enix that Square Enix couldn't really get too many of their projects off the ground, simply because, Crystal Dynamics running Marvel's Avengers for so long, it was just eating up resources, and Marvel's Avengers ended with 3 years of basically nothing of real value. So unless you're poor at your job, then money management should not really be an issue. I'm just saying. Opera was known for doing scummy stuff around a year ago. Well, it's a good thing I've never used Opera GX then. Because I see it all the time. I see it in a whole bunch of people's ads and sponsorships and stuff, and I'm like, oh, is it really that good? Is it really that good? But if it's known for doing some scummy stuff, then I'm probably more than happy that I've never interacted with it at all.
With GX mods, there are thousands to choose from, and I immediately picked Dark Souls because I have gotten good. These mods change everything from keyboard sounds, themes, and the color of your browser. You can install as many mods as you like, mix and match between them, and swap easily. It's super simple, and it makes Opera GX stand out amongst the hordes of generic internet browsers. One of Opera's coolest features is GX Corner. Conveniently found on the sidebar, GX Corner keeps track of tons of upcoming games, their release dates. Paper Mario Thousand Year Door? Hell yeah. It also shows games that are on sale, new trailers for recently announced titles, and the latest news in the world of gaming. Opera GX is perfect for me because I like staying up to date on everything that's going on. And GX Corner keeps all of this important stuff in one place, so I don't need to open 100 different tabs for it. It's time to get a browser that's as cool as you are. And you can download it using my link in the description and pinned comment. Download and use Opera GX today. And thank you, Opera, for sponsoring this video.
And now for something completely different.
When I made this video 4 years ago, I thought 4 years later, things would get better. They have not. Recently, IGN reported that Microsoft is shutting down multiple studios, including Arcane Austin. IGN reported that Microsoft...
This was on May 7th. Microsoft closes Redfall developer Arcane Austin, Hi-Fi Rush developer Tango Game Works, and more in devastating cuts at Bethesda. Now, Arcane Austin, they released Redfall. Redfall, we know so much about. I don't even need to go down a whole tangent. I don't need to go down a whole tangent of why that game was bad. Hi-Fi Rush, however, though I never played the game, I see why people like it. I see the reasons why people like it so much. And more devastating cuts at Bethesda. Yeah, there were still plenty of cuts. If they had made the Forspoken character likable, the game would have been way better received. She left her money in a fire. All I heard to know she was the sharpest marble in the drawer. Look, the writing for Forspoken was horrible. It was very horrible. How do you make a main character that I don't like, and they're meant to be likable, but you make them unlikable? What is her name? Auden? Auden, the chick that was helping out Frey. She was the one who was, telling Frey about everything. She had way more sense than Frey, and was the first person to stand up and call Frey out for being one of the worst humans imaginable. I don't care what happens to your world, I'm just trying to get back to mine. Even though I have all these great powers where I could take the powers of all these different women, I forget what they're called. I forget what the women are called. They're called something. The Alta something? Not Atlas. The women are called something. I forget. The four something. The four something. The four women. The four powerful women in the world. And just the overall feel for Frey, written wise, was just very, very poor. The writing was very poor. I said this, how about you grab the bag full of cash and find your cat? And someone told me, well, if you're in the middle of a fire, the first thing you're going to think of is getting your dog. And I'm thinking, okay, You can do that while you're picking up the bag of cash. You don't have to choose one or the other. She's got to find her cat. Okay, pick up the bag and look for the cat. No, gotta find Homer first. Your home is on fire. If you find your cat, and I think I said it. I can't remember if I said it during the stream. Watch what happens if I bet you anything she ain't gonna be able to get the cash anymore. I gotta look at my old stream. I gotta look at my old stream. I gotta look at my old stream to see if I said anything about her. What would happen if she goes for the cat and then the fire gets burnt and the fire burns up all of her money, and then lo and behold, it predictably happens. So yeah, it was. I can't say that if they made Frey likable, I don't think the game would have been better if she was more likable. I don't think that would have been the case because the writing was kind of mundane. It was kind of mundane and actually very predictable. Very predictable. So yeah. Mandalorian Martin, should we worry about Xbox? Well, we are currently watching a video called The Never-Ending Decline of Xbox, so, you tell me.
Is shutting down multiple studios, including Arcane Austin, developers of Redfall, Alpha Dog Games, and Roundhouse Studios. But most notably, the developers of Ghostwire Tokyo, Evil Within 1 and 2, and
They tried to make her a Marvel Avenger. See, the thing about Frey is... Okay, so let me just say this. About the only real thing I liked about Forspoken was just the magic combat and the traversal. That was it. The collectathon of finding everything in the game was just like, eh. The story was eh. The world itself was, you know, it was wide open, but it could feel really dead. Really dead, with the only life being in the main city. And you go outside, it was like I said, I could only find the real enjoyment from like the traversal and the magic combat, and that was it. Like I made a couple of videos for it and all the awesome powers and how broken you can make Frey, but other than that, it was just like eh. And Frey as a whole, even at the end, I feel like there was a massive missed opportunity because at the end of Forspoken, she basically enters into like this Super Saiyan state. Like her eyes are glowing, her hair is flowing, and she's got all of this massive power. And I'm thinking, oh, it would be so cool if we could get this as a power-up because now that she's gained all the power of all of these women and their powers all combined together, maybe that's like a secondary super mode. No, it was just for a cutscene. For the most part, it was pretty much just for a cutscene. And I think it was just for the final battle, and that was it. So massive missed opportunity to not let players keep a souped up power mode as a brand new mode for them to use out there in the world. So many missed opportunities.
Hi-Fi Rush were shut down. Tango Game Works. This is a character-defining choice for Microsoft and Xbox. When faced with this moral dilemma, they did not tag along with John. They went back for the money. This is, of course, devastating for the people who work at these studios, but Microsoft was there to make us chuckle a little bit by launching a brand new controller. Feel the burn.
So, you want to know if I can...
What?
Launching a brand new controller.
So you closed down Tango Game Works, which was met with massive amounts of disapproval. And then you start trying to push for brand new controllers. Feel the burn today. That feels like that's so on the nose. We just shut down all these studios, and we shut down a well-known studio that not only created Ghostwire Tokyo, but also the incredibly successful Hi-Fi Rush. But feel the burn today with the Fire Vapor Special Edition controller. That would be me if Sony closed down Insomniac and then boasted of like a see-through ice blue PlayStation controller. It would be like that. We shut down someone great, but we want you to keep buying our products. If Sony did that, because it would be Sony's decision, not PlayStation's decision, but Sony's decision for that. I would feel iffy about that too.
Feel the burn.
So, you want to know if I can feel it?
But to all the unfortunate developers who were laid off, at least Microsoft is giving you this fancy backpack and some swag. Bro, are you for real? You want merch from the company that just laid you off? Now, if your brain... Are you for real?
Wait, what?
Fancy backpack.
Wait. Brad Hildebrand, Public Relations and Communications Leader. This came in the mail today. I mean, I appreciate the thought, but this is also the company that just laid me off, so weird. Is this supposed to be like a severance package? Hey, we appreciate all the work you've done. Have a duffel bag, a t-shirt, and a backpack. You helped make us more money, but we're gonna get rid of you and then send you a gift box. I'm not even concerned with like whatever severance they may have given them, if they gave them a severance at all. But it would be so weird to get fired from a company. And then they send you a gift box after the firing, as if that's supposed to make it better. We fired a pound of people, feel the burn. That's good lord. And like I said, I'm not trying to come down on Xbox as a whole, just the people in charge of these incredibly dumb decisions that put Microsoft not only on the same, that Microsoft used to be on the same level as PlayStation. Xbox used to be on the same level of PlayStation. And though Xbox still releases games, there's some still out there that still garner some attention, it's not to the degree where it used to be.
Packing some swag. Bro, are you for real? You want merch from the company that just laid you off? Now, if your brain is hurting already, don't worry. The pain is going to get much worse, to the point where you too will develop a tumor so debilitating that you qualify for a position in Xbox leadership. It's going to take time to fully understand how mind-boggling these shutdowns are, and what a terrible impact this is likely to have on Microsoft and Xbox in the future. Well, in my opinion, Xbox has had 11 great, phenomenal years, and 11 years of getting shit-faced at the bar, constantly telling everyone they're gonna be back on top. And I think I've finally seen through all the lies and deception that I've been told by Xbox leadership, the stuff that I bought into. I think I've finally unplugged from all of that. Xbox has become so far detached from what initially drew me to it that I can't even describe what the brand is anymore. I can tell you what it used to be. Xbox was the console that proved we Americans could do it too. Not just the Japanese, we could do it too. Xbox was a place for the wackiest, most...
Remember Halo? Y'all remember
just the
Halo?
Japanese, we could do it too. Xbox...
Remember when Halo was the flagship game of Xbox? And now you mention Halo and people just remember the previous games? Except for Guardians and Infinite? Like, sure, we'll mention Guardians and Infinite, but people remember Halos 1 through 3. And maybe 4. But mostly the first 3. Remember Gears of War? Remember Halo, Gears of War? Forza is about the only series, and that's how you properly pronounce it, Forza, not Forza, but Forza is pretty much the only series that's been going on for all of these years that has managed to stay, you know, relevant enough that people will still play it. But not so much the last ones.
Xbox was a
Not
place
so much
for
the
the
last couple of
wackiest,
games.
most creative niche
Like,
games.
remember Skate? Skate was so good. Me and my sisters, we used to mess around with Hall of Meat all the time for Skate. All the time.
Variety that covers a place for the wackiest, most creative niche games. A stunning variety that covered pretty much every genre imaginable, from snowboarding to boat combat. Xbox was a massive innovator in online gaming, couch co-op, graphics, fidelity, performance.
Yep, there's Gears of
and it
War
pushed
right
the
there.
technical limitations of the time. But if you ask me to describe what Xbox is now, I would say it's not Xbox. This is Microsoft Gaming. Welcome to Microsoft Gaming. Would you like to purchase one entertainment product?
Why does that sound... Why does that sound so off and yet so true at the same time? Xbox isn't just Xbox anymore. It's now Microsoft Gaming. That's true, and yet it doesn't feel right to say. Because can you look at Xbox right now and disassociate it with Microsoft, with the games that Xbox has right now? Or does it feel like Xbox is currently a console where all of its relevantness comes because of Microsoft?
And even Seamus Blackley, the creator of the original Xbox, laments this revelation as well. Today, Xbox is like an amorphous blob, an all-consuming void hell-bent on assimilating as many
Hold on, let me see what you said. One Life Man! We used to have fun with simple games. It's not the same anymore. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. I'm not going to say that Sony and PlayStation are perfect with their games, because they do make missteps, but not to this degree for Xbox. And like I said, I'm not bashing on Xbox, just the decisions made that made Xbox less of itself over the past several years. And I say this to every person who owns an Xbox when they show up. It's like, y'all really do deserve more than what y'all are getting. I said this like a year ago or maybe 2 years ago. Y'all really do deserve way more than what you're getting compared to what everyone else is doing. PC is doing a ton of things. Sony is doing a whole bunch. We literally have a state of play for PlayStation tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be doing a live reaction to that. But, and Nintendo's Nintendo. They just keep releasing stuff and people will keep buying it. It is literally one of the most successful gaming companies out there. Just gaming industries out there. I want to say company. It's probably better to say company. But Xbox is like, they're doing stuff. I mean, they're doing stuff. Sony, they got stuff. They're doing a lot of stuff. They got a lot of stuff lined up. We got tons of games that are going to be releasing this year, including Black Myth Wukong. There's a lot of good stuff happening. But Xbox, the most recent release they had, the most recent major release they had was Hellblade 2, Senua's Sacrifice, I think. And that game barely had any marketing. You know, the biggest title that was supposed to be coming to Xbox in its most recent history, and you barely heard about it. I didn't see no ads on YouTube. I didn't see nothing pop up on I didn't see it up on any videos. I don't see any banners for it showcasing the game. I see people playing it, but I never heard of it. That's it. They're horrible at marketing some of their games.
Studios as possible to throw their games on Game Pass and then discard the studios. In other words,
hold on, say that again.
Blob. An all-consuming void hell-bent on assimilating as many studios as possible to throw their games on Game Pass and then discard the studios. In other words, Majin Buu. Today, Xbox is a brand that can't see past its own nose. They can't see anything beyond immediate, short-term gain. Because the Activision Blizzard acquisition was $70 billion. That is putting some eyes on Xbox and what they're doing. They need to start producing results. Xbox leadership is in a tight spot, so they're looking for short-term solutions, and they're sabotaging their own efforts to foster long-term successful IPs. You see, Microsoft has all these different studios that they've acquired, and they have huge pools of talent under their umbrella. But isn't it odd that a $3 trillion software company could have so much trouble creating software?
How does that work? How do you have all this money to buy these studios and you can't keep people? You can't make software, you can't make games, but you make all this money, but you can't keep the people, you can't keep the studios that you buy so you can make more money. You suddenly are unable to afford any of them. Or at least the ones that you got rid of. You suddenly can't afford them. How? Are you that poor with money where you buy things so other people can't get them? And then you just sit them up in the back of the room until they come up with a very good idea that you know is going to make you millions in an instant? And then if they don't make you millions in an instant, you just throw them outside? How do you have all this money and not know how to properly use it? How are you a $1 trillion company and not fully know the scope of what you have in your hand?
Seriously, man, why is every single Xbox game I'm excited for delayed, rebooted, going through development troubles, or announced 5?
Like, look at all these games.
Seriously, man, why?
The last time we saw of them, mind you, some of these articles are old. Like this one is from 2022. Fable development is slow due to Playground's inexperience with RPGs, says former designer. So why did you get someone that has no experience with RPGs to make an RPG? Now, mind you, this stance does not apply to everyone, because we have Cygames, who created Grand Blue Fantasy, which is a mobile game, which they then expanded into a fighting game, which they then continued to expand into a 3D RPG. Mind you, well, actually, they actually have experience with RPGs, but making full-on 3D titles? And their newest update is going to be dropping this Friday with Sandalphon and a ton of different missions. That Lucilius Zero mission is going to hurt. It's going to hurt. But they have the excuse of having experience with RPGs. But when it comes to companies trying to do things for the first time, you really got to be careful with that. Ambition should not outweigh capability. You know? I'm just saying.
Every single
You read the Bible and the word of the Lord says, fools lead the people, a blind shepherd leads the flocks to the wolves. I don't know if that particular verse applies to this, because it's really more of a situation of mismanagement and poor decision making versus, people just being strung along, because that verse would apply if Microsoft was just stringing people along with absolutely no chance of the people who are going with them to ever succeed. That's not the case here, so I don't necessarily think that verse would apply to this, because this is really a whole matter of Microsoft just mismanaging a lot of what they got. It's just a whole bunch of mismanagement and incompetence when you think about it. So, Fable development, that was from 2022. Xbox Perfect. Wow, this was this month. Xbox Perfect Dark reboot is still in very rough state. How long has this reboot been in development, though? This game got announced that it was being developed on like a couple years ago. How is it still very rough, in a very rough state? How is it still in very rough? What have you been doing all those years? This is like Overwatch. This reminds me of Overwatch. And mind you, I'm gonna talk about Overwatch as well, because on top of like Microsoft mismanaging what they got, Activision Blizzard has really been mismanaging what they have with Overwatch. So you remember how back then the development cycle of Dead Island. At least that game released. And in that same year was the most stable game to release between Star Wars, Jedi Survivor, and there was another game. There was another game that released before Dead Island 2. I can't remember what it is, but in between two games, it was the most stable game to release after being in development limbo for a very long time. But at least it was good. Dead Island 2 was good.
Game I'm excited
I'll
for.
I'll talk about Overwatch here in a minute. Because given the fact that Marvel Rivals, a brand new hero shooter, is in had an alpha recently, and people love it. People like it, they really do. There's so much potential for it that could greatly overshadow what Overwatch has been, dragging its feet with. Because remember, they had like a whole PvE mode like Junkenstein and Heroic Gauntlets. Apparently, those things are getting canned simply because players are not interested in it. And I want to say it's probably more so just Heroic Gauntlet that's getting canned because players are just not messing with it. We notice that players are not interacting with Hero Gauntlet. There feels like something is in the corner of my eye, and it doesn't. Why is there always something in my eye when I'm trying to have a meaningful discussion with y'all? Give me a sec. Those little eyelashes, the ones that are super thin and small, why do they hurt the most?
Delayed, rebooted.
But yeah, Overwatch is out here getting rid of some of their last PvE related stuff on Overwatch 2. And it just reiterates the fact that Overwatch 2 is just basically Overwatch 1. There was literally no need for Overwatch 2 to ever be made. But that's just another matter of mismanagement. We'll get to that. We'll get to that later in a minute. Everwild was reportedly an action-adventure game with God game elements, but it's been rebooted. Don't expect Rare's gorgeous new IP to launch anytime soon, and this was back in 2021.
Going through development trouble.
State of Decay 3 report details troubled development and alleged failures at studio Undead Labs. This was back in 2022.
Were announced 5 years ago and then never talked about again. Well, I'll answer that question later in this video. The point is, the one studio that seemingly had their shit together, Tango Game Works, a studio based in Japan, a market that Xbox has consistently failed to break into, who just released a Game Award winning, critically acclaimed title, this is the studio you get rid of?
Make this make sense! Xbox does not do well in Japan. Not as well as Sony, and Xbox has been trying to get like a very solid foothold in Japan on the same level of PlayStation for a while. So you mean to tell me, like Actman just said, you have a studio that is based in Japan, making games for your Xbox systems, and you get rid of them. Literally one of the few avenues of having Xbox presence in Japan, and you get rid of them. So now you're back to square one. How does that make sense as a good business decision? It is very apparent to me that you really don't need to be smart in order to be a CEO of a massive trillion-dollar company. You just gotta smile and wave, apparently. Because there ain't no way you're going to be that dumb and make a decision where you get rid of one of the few footholds you have in Japan and just be all like, yeah, we're not going to have anything made by them anymore. No Ghostwire Tokyo sequel, no Evil Within sequel, no Hi-Fi Rush sequel. Now it's just gone. Because these morons think they know better.
Excuse me one moment.
That's the correct response. That's the correct response.
Nope. Still doesn't make sense. I didn't kill enough brain cells.
Congratulations, sir! You have just given me my $1 million!
Great. Well, what do I win?
Nothing! Now get out!
It's... Thank you for making us $1 million. Oh, the honor was all mine. We were happy to make this game. We really enjoyed it, and we can't make the next one. We can't wait to make the next one. Next one? Yeah, aren't we gonna... We did well, so that must mean you guys want a sequel. Oh, no, I think we're good. We want to thank you for all the time that you spent with us. Wait, what's going on here? What's going on here? We want to say thank you for all the time that you've given to us to make Hi-Fi Rush. We appreciate all the effort you and your team have done for us. But we're currently going through a restructuring right now. What do you mean restructuring? We're just rethinking the company as it holds right now, and there is some room for some things to be changed and switched around, and that also means some things are gonna have to go as well. Are you firing us? Don't think of it as firing. Just think of it as you are helping pave the way for a brighter future for Microsoft and Xbox. One day later. Oh, we need more games like Tango Game Works and Hi-Fi Rush. Literally everyone. Huh? What you mean? You fired them! How does that make sense? It's so insane. Why boast about like, hey, y'all made us so much money, we're happy for you, we can't wait to see what you do next, and then the next thing you do is get rid of them.
You have just given me my $1 million!
Great. Well, what do I win?
Nothing! Now get out!
What?
Get the fuck out!
If we reduce the number of employees for better short-term financial results, employee morale will decrease. I sincerely doubt employees who fear that they may be laid off will be able to develop software titles that could impress people around the world. Where did this quote come from? Well, would you look at that? It's former Nintendo CEO Satoru Iwata, who said this.
Let me rewind that back. Satoru Iwata, may God rest his soul, one of the most goated gaming CEOs to ever exist. If we reduce the number of employees for better short-term financial results, which is what Microsoft is doing, employee morale will decrease. I sincerely doubt employees who fear that they may be laid off will be able to develop software titles that could impress people around the world. Because then there's this looming big brother shadow, looming shadow over the development teams of like, even if we do good, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to keep us. So I don't even feel like giving myself 100% if it means I'm just going to be canned in the end. This is the reason why, as stingy as Nintendo can be with some of their games, still waiting for Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 to come to PlayStation, which will probably never happen. You cannot deny that when it comes to their games, they are always releasing stuff that people want, and you rarely hear of them just shutting down studios. I don't think we've ever heard of Nintendo shutting down any studios that was associated with them. I don't think we've ever heard of that. This is also the same dude that took a pay cut to make sure that employees would not lose their jobs when the Wii U sold poorly. You're not going to get Microsoft out there saying, how about we make less money? I wouldn't mind taking a pay cut if it means the employees of these studios can still keep their jobs so we don't have to restructure or downsize or reformulate how we're going to do our company. I don't need to do like air quotes for every single word. That kind of makes it redundant. You know what I mean. But
software
this
titles
man right
that could
here,
impress people.
there hasn't been a CEO to compare to Satoru Iwata since. There hasn't been a single one. Not a single company CEO that has been able to reach his level of goatedness
around the world. Where did this quote come from? Well, would you look at that? It's former Nintendo CEO Satoru Iwata, who said this after taking a 50% pay cut after the financial.
Yep, Nintendo CEO once halved his salary to prevent layoffs, and it worked. Why that's so uncommon today? Because CEOs nowadays are so comfortable with the amount of money that they're getting that they're like Smaug. They're like Smaug from, what was it? The Desolation of Smaug. I will not part with a single coin. Not one piece of it. They are Smaug. They don't want to give up their treasure whatsoever. They're making a very fat paycheck right now, and a lot of them are under the impression that I can't afford to let all of this good money that I'm making that has nothing to do with what these games and their studios are doing so that I can have a fat paycheck. I can't bear to part with any of it. So, in order to ensure that I still get paid, in order to ensure that I always get my money, maybe I need to talk to the board. Maybe I need to talk to the suits. Maybe we need to get rid of a couple of studios because I don't want to take a pay cut, and I'm pretty sure they don't want to get have less money as well. Let's not chance it. Let's just fire a whole bunch of studios today. You don't get people like Iwata anymore. You don't. Satorus are goats in general, even in real life. Yeah. We got one Satoru in manga who's just massively busted, and then we had, God rest his soul, one Satoru in real life who was so undeniably busted as a CEO that no one's been able to reach his level of awesomeness ever since. He's gone, and his he's still famous for being one of the greatest to ever live. He's literally Roger from One Piece. Even after he's passed on, people still remember him for the great man that he was, and no one's been able to reach his level. Don't get me started.
Potentially disastrous launch of the Wii U, so he wouldn't have to lay off any staff. Anybody at Microsoft or Xbox willing to take a pay cut to keep...
I just said this. Ain't nobody gonna want to take a pay cut because don't nobody want to see less zeros on their paycheck. I wonder how much pressure the CEOs are under. There's a lot of stuff we are not seeing. Oh, I know. We can only talk about the stuff that we see. We don't know the pressure of what they... despite everything I said, we don't know what goes on in a board meeting concerning all these CEOs. We don't know. We can only go off of information that we get wind of or financial quarterly reports that we see and what they say audibly to the public. That's the only information we can get from it. However, when they get in public and say stuff, there's not too many hard things to understand when they start speaking stupidly.
Keep this incredible studio around? Anybody? Anyone?
You and Microsoft Games CEO Phil Spencer have been raising kind of the alarm that the video game industry is just not growing, and there's a real need to figure out how to reverse that. What's causing the issue, and how does Xbox turn it around?
Yeah, the last year or so in video games, largely the industry's been flat.
Is that who I think it is? Why, yes, it's Capcom, celebrating their 7th consecutive year of record high profits.
As cuts and closures batter the industry, Capcom posted 7th consecutive year of record high profits and says the 8th is just around the corner. So gaming as a whole has not just been flat. it's just been Xbox. It's been Microsoft. See, one thing that gets me is how some CEOs or some people in charge will really try to generalize themselves along with other people when it's really just them. It's like a parent trying to bring in all children to chastise one, but they bring in all the rest of the children just to make sure that the one who's actually getting in trouble doesn't feel as bad. It's kind of like that. I mean, Santanu might have been more free to take a pay cut, but if the CEOs of Microsoft might not be the same, like maybe they could get sued or something for taking less money. They could get sued for taking less money. That seems more likely to getting sued would seem more likely if they were to take more money, but less. And even if it was like in a contract, that would be one of the strangest clauses where like you are not allowed to take less than this amount, or you will be subjected to litigation. That just seems that statement in and of itself, like sued because they would take less money, that just doesn't seem like something. That just doesn't sound right. Because I've never known someone to get sued over taking or over refusing to take more money. Capcom sold more games this year than in any previous year in its history. And that was, I mean, probably not too long ago, considering this is an image of Resident Evil 4, and of course they released Dragon's Dogma 2. I'm not going to go down the path of Dragon's Dogma 2. I just not. Capcom does it too. They look out for their shareholders above everything else. See, here's the thing. I'm not saying wait, what's today? What's today? Oh, thank God. Okay, it's not Thursday because the beginning after the end is tomorrow. Okay, cool. I just remembered that. I had like a notification from Tapas just pop up on my screen and I got scared. See, Capcom is not exempt from being like money grubbers as well, because a lot of their recent games have just been chock full of games at release that are fine, and then all of a sudden later on, or maybe even a day after release, they suddenly start adding on monetization to it. They did it to Resident Evil 4 Remake. I'm pretty sure they did it to Exo Primal, and they also did it to Dragon's Dogma 2, where they gave you multiple microtransaction purchases that you can get, like more fairy stones, free port, not free because none of its stuff was free, some port crystals, some materials for resetting your character's appearance or your pawn's appearance, and a lot of different things that you can get in game, but it would take you a while. We in the industry call those time savers, which is something that Ubisoft is well known for, which is why Assassin's Creed Shadows, I'm gonna look at their store. I'm not gonna get the game, because frankly, Ubisoft has fallen out with me in terms of their games over the years. And I'm at a state right now where I really no longer care about Ubisoft games, to the point where I am just interested in playing them and trying them out. My last Assassin's Creed game was Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, and that was it.
They're making more money than they ever have before in the company's
And this was posted this month as well. Capcom is making more money than ever before, and its forecasts even better to come, with Monster Hunter Wilds and perhaps more waiting in the wings. Capcom sold 45.89 million units of video games during the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2024, a record for the long-running company behind the likes of Monster Hunter and Resident Evil. Net sales were up 21% year on year, and profit was up 18.1%. Assassin's Creed is a wait and see? Yeah, it is. Ubisoft done so much harm to their brand. They really have. Because Ubisoft is not in a good place for themselves either. They're not. Their last big game that they released was Skull and Bones. And Skull and Bones is just a rehash DLC from Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag, repurposed into a full-priced quadruple A title, touted to be, you know, worth $70. But it's not even close to what it should really be valued at. Like $30 is something at the most. Barely $40. But it's not a $70 game. It is not. How do you make a pirate game where your ship has stamina and you can't move quickly for long periods of time? How does a ship have stamina? How does that work? So let alone that, Assassin's Creed, it's like they did Mirage, and I heard that was pretty good, but not as good as it could have been. And now they're making Assassin's Creed Shadows. I'm not concerned with like the characters they add. I'm not concerned with the characters they add. That's irrelevant to me. I'm just more concerned on whether or not the game is going to be good. Because if the game is good, then if the game is good and the writing's fine, then everything can be like minorly overlooked. If the gameplay is good enough and the story and writing is good enough, then everything else is not as important. I've yet to see a game worth $70. Well, I can't say Grand Blue Fantasy Relink because that's $60. And that feels like a $70 game. How much was Elden Ring? Was that one $70? Because if it was, that's definitely worth it. Elden Ring is definitely worth full price. If I don't say any other game, hold on, let me see. I don't even think Armored Core was like a $70 game. But Elden Ring... And how much was Resident Evil 4? Resident Evil 4 was 70, wasn't it? Elden Ring was 60? Okay. Resident Evil 4 was 70, yeah? I think that's worth it. I honestly think that Resident Evil 4 remake is definitely worth. If it was $70, then I think that's one of the very few games that is incredibly worth $70. But that's me. Capcom said it achieved this result off the back of the release of Street Fighter VI in June 2023 and Dragon's Dogma in March 2024. Street Fighter VI has now sold 3.3 million units, and Dragon's Dogma 2 has shifted 2.62 million. Now, mind you, this was back in May 9th. As it stands recently, they've now shipped 3 million units, 3 million copies of Dragon's Dogma 2. Both games, as well as continued sales of older games, made for record high net sales, the 7th consecutive year of record high profit at all levels, and Capcom's 11th consecutive year of operating income growth. Elden Ring has a $40 US dollar DLC coming out 2 years later. Yeah, and everyone wants to play it. Everyone wants to play it. I don't know a single person who's played Elden Ring that doesn't want to play Shadow of the Erdtree. So now we have Elden Ring, which is a $60 game that will now increase to a $100 value, and Elden Ring just feels worth it. Dragon's Dogma sold at $70 and has a $30 to $40 US dollar DLC coming out not even a year later. Capcom going to go down this path eventually. I feel like when it comes to video games, you gotta let them marinate. You can't just be saying, hey, we're releasing... Because here's one thing that annoys me about certain games, and especially when it's concerning Ubisoft. If you guys don't mind me ranting here, we're still like 10 minutes in, and we still got some 20 minutes left for the rest of this video. One thing that I am not a fan of is when games are announced and they say we got a season's pass before the game even launches. Now, I would understand if you say like, "Hey, we got a game that's out. We might do something in the future, but we're not gonna tie it down with a season's pass right before the game launches, because Ubisoft is infamous for saying we're releasing games and then releasing multiple editions from the standard price of $70 to $89.99 to $100 to $129, and you don't even know if what's coming with all of these different editions for these video games are even worth that amount of money. You don't know. Like with Star Wars Outlaws, we got all those different editions for the game, but we don't know if that Jabba mission is going to be good. We don't know if any of the other extra story missions are going to be worth the price, because for all we know, that Jabba mission could be 15 minutes. 15 minutes. 15 minutes for that extra $20 you put on top for a higher edition. We don't even know if any of that stuff is good. We don't. They released Dragon's Dogma 2 quickly for the fiscal year, and I'm sure they cut the current DLC out to make the deadline. If they make Dragon's Dogma 2 a Dark Arisen offshoot like they did for Dragon's Dogma 1 Dark Arisen, if they do that, I'm like, and if they... Let me say this, because y'all know my gripes about Dragon's Dogma 2 and its mechanics and how it functions as a game. If they release like a version of Dragon's Dogma 2 that's like Dark Arisen, where it has improved mechanics and things that could have made my time in Dragon's Dogma 2 so much less annoying and mundane at times, such as like Eternal Fairy Stones or whatever, or different difficulties that you can set, and then they put it behind a price tag just for something that should be available at the game at launch, I'm gonna say something. Because if they're waiting for people to be all like, oh, I'm done with Dragon's Dogma 2, I need to know more, I'm gonna say something, because I had quite the time. And that game broke me to the point where I traded in Dragon's Dogma 2 for Stellar Blade. And Stellar Blade, I massively enjoyed. I enjoyed it. Ubisoft just wants you to subscribe. I ain't gonna. What am I subscribing to Ubi Plus for? For what purpose? What do you have on Ubisoft Plus that is so good that it would make me want to purchase that subscription along with Star Wars Outlaws? Why would I even want to do that? Is what you have so good that I should invest all that money month after month after month for a game I probably won't be playing month after month after month, but you still want me to be subscribed to it? See, this is what I mean. You are well within your rights to say something. Oh, I will. So it's like that. I'm not a fan of games that release different editions, but don't tell you everything that goes with it. That don't tell you, hey, our DLC is gonna last this long. Our DLC is gonna have this much in it. You're just told the name, and you're given like a short synopsis. If you got a person on your writing team that can make those honey words sound a whole lot better. I just do not trust companies like Ubisoft that give you all these editions and you don't truly know if it's worth your time. Because I think that's kind of sketchy. We'll give you this DLC if you give us just a little bit extra money. What comes with it? Oh, we can't tell you. You're just gonna have to trust us. I'm sorry. Since when did they start making a Ubisoft Plus? I don't know. Hold on. Let me look this up. When did it get started? Okay, let's see. Launch date 2019. Subscription gaming service. Subscription-based video game service from Ubisoft offering access to download and play games from Ubisoft's library for a single monthly fee. Ubisoft offers subscribers unlimited access to a catalog of more than 100 games on Microsoft Windows PCs, including titles such as Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Watch Dogs Legion, and Immortals Phoenix Rising. Also includes premium additions to games, classic titles, and additional content packs. With a Ubisoft subscription, Games can be downloaded and played on Windows computers using the free Ubisoft Connect game launcher. So yeah, it started back in 2019, but I can't say that I can't say that I trust it. We truly buy the worst version of the game when buying day one. There are exceptions. There are exceptions where day one is already good. I feel like the best versions of day one games are the ones that don't promise you DLC later on, but decide to make DLC after the foundation of the game has already been made and it's already been solid. Grand Blue Fantasy Relink is an example of a game that worked well at launch, and they just kept adding more stuff to it. Like this week, we're getting the Sanophon update, we're getting numerous missions, we're getting a brand new revamped and far more difficult Lucilius boss raid mission. And we're also getting a ton of quality of life improvements, including brand new features such as in-game map that allows you to find everything, including stuff that you missed, so you can get those extra trophies sorted out. Also, they're adding a photo mode to the game, which the game never had. They're just adding that in because they know people would like to take pictures of their favorite characters and put them in different poses and stuff. I know I would. That's the reason why I'm going to be filling up the photo mode and gifts section of my Discord with more pictures as soon as we get access to that. I am spitting everywhere. I am so sorry. But that game was fine at launch. It was great. It was fantastic at launch. And then it got even better with more characters, more reasons to keep playing. So, not necessarily every game is the worst version of itself at day one. Just the ones that say you're gonna enjoy this much better once you get all this DLC added on to it. But yeah, let's get back to it. I'm sorry.
44-year history. What's their secret? Video game sales?
It's impossible!
What's this? Salary increases for all employees?
See, that just sounds ridiculous. Let's give our employees more money so they have more reasons to make us more games.
No! We don't want them to be paid more! We want them to want their jobs! So pay them less.
No!
Surely Capcom has to be like a $4 trillion company to afford such extravagant treatment for their employees and staff, right? Oh God, oh no, oh.
Market capitalization of Capcom. Market cap, $7.35 billion. As of this year, as of May 2024, Capcom has a market cap of $7.35 billion. This makes Capcom the world's 2089th most valuable company by market cap, according to our whatever market capitalization, commonly called market cap, is a total market value of a publicly traded company's outstanding shares and is commonly used to measure how much a company is worth.
Oh, holy shit. Oh, this is what you don't get, Xbox and Microsoft. The words in these two articles. This is also why you haven't and why you will probably never break into the Japanese market. Make good product, sell product, make money back, pay employees. Employees who make good product are happy and keep working on next product.
Is that a hard concept to get? That's an easy step-by-step plan. It is so simple. Say that again. Say that again for the people in the back.
Make good product, sell product, make money back, pay employees. Employees who make good product are happy and keep working on next product.
It is so simple. Make good stuff. I'm just repeating what he said because I gotta repeat it again for the people in the back. Make good stuff. Sell good stuff. People buy the good stuff. You make money from the good stuff. You use money from the good stuff to pay the people who make the good stuff. And then make so that they can make more good stuff. So you can then sell good stuff, make money from good stuff, and the cycle just repeats. It's not a hard concept to understand. Not saying that no one knows or understands this concept, but you don't see people using that concept. Gave myself the hiccups.
Slow down there, Ackman. It's a little too complicated, okay? Microsoft, being as big as they are, probably thinks they can toss out whoever they want and throw a bunch of money at a replacement, and that solves the issue.
I just don't think we're all interchangeable. I think things change when you change the people. That's why my motto is always be nice to the goose, is because I think the goose that lays the golden egg, it's not the egg that you need to care about, it's the goose, and the goose is the team.
We're seriously talking about mistakes that continue to be made. Since 2007, Microsoft is notorious for killing every golden goose they get their hands on. Phil Spencer praised Hi-Fi Rush and said that players could expect to see more AAA titles from Japan.
What is going on, Phil? What is happening to us? What's happening to you?
This is the first of many problems with the Tango shutdown. Microsoft is once again closing the doors on the Japanese market. Now, only Japanese developers who want to commit seppuku are likely to work with them. This is all besides the point that Tango Game Works was extremely talented. They were founded by Shinji Mikami for Leon Kennedy's sake, the genius behind Resident Evil 4. What did he have to say about Tango's shutdown? Sad. Here's the thing, not every studio is capable of tackling different genres to the same level of success. A lot of them get stuck doing the same thing. So when a studio like Tango is able to swap from horror to action rhythm beat 'em up, and it turns out amazing, you've got some serious talent and creativity over there. You should nurture this golden goose, and you strangled it again. But let's hear Microsoft's side of the story.
It just shows you that there are some people that it's very apparent that the people in charge do not see the potential. They don't truly see the potential in front of them. They just see the immediate profits right then and there, but don't want to invest in the potential that more profits can come from what they just got. And even if they did see the potential, they appear to be indecisive about trusting it. Or maybe they just think, because when I see CEOs or when I see anyone who is in charge of any company get out in front, and the very first thing they start saying is something that you would say to a shareholder and not to the employees, not to the consumer. When it starts sounding like sales holder speak, then that means you've lost me. You lost me. I'm not a shareholder. I'm not one of your employees. I'm a person who's looking at your studio or your company to give me what I want, which is games. If the first thing that's coming out of your mouth sounds like it is towards the shareholders and not me as the consumer or to your employees to let them know, like, hey, we are trusting you to make more stuff. If it sounds like it's not geared towards the employees or the consumer in terms of making people invested in your company, you lost me. You lose people. You're going to lose people.
Story, because there has to be a good explanation for this, right? So Matt Booty is the head of Xbox Game Studios, and he was the one who sent out the email to staff informing them of the shutdowns. Today I'm sharing changes we are making to our Bethesda and ZeniMax teams. These changes are grounded in prioritizing high-impact titles and further investing in Bethesda's portfolio of blockbuster games. I posted this video at the perfect time. It's just like I told you. They're going bigger games, bigger budgets, doubling down on established IPs, no new creative ideas, just stick with what's safe.
Bigger doesn't always mean better. You're a fool if you think bigger is always better. It's not. If you're throwing more money at something does not guarantee that it is going to make even more money on top of that. Ask Disney. They throw millions of dollars at all their stuff, and not everyone likes it. I know I don't like Disney as much as I used to. Disney used to mean something. I used to look forward to the day when I would go to the theaters and look at their movies, and now it's like I don't care anymore. Just because you're increasing the budget or making it so that these studios can, do more does not guarantee that it's going to be successful. Throwing money at something doesn't mean that it's going to generate more money in return.
It's just like I told you. They're going bigger games, bigger budgets, doubling down on established IPs. No new creative ideas, just stick with what's safe. We're gonna make fewer games with longer development times. Yes! Yes! The release schedule was too fast for Xbox's first-party titles. We need to slow it down more. Fun fact, video game production cycles have gotten so long that if a big-budget game studio started working on a brand new project today, it would likely be for the PS6. Fuck yes, I'm so excited for this game that had a cringy trailer 4 years ago and haven't heard anything since.
Yeah, remember Fable? Remember the new Fable game for Xbox? When's the last time you heard anything about that? We heard less from Fable than we did from the Wonder Woman game. And we haven't heard anything from the Wonder Woman game.
So fucking hyped for it. Wait a second. Prioritizing high-impact titles. That's bizarre terminology I've never heard before. That's what it is, because they wanted to have a high impact on Game Pass subscriptions, which have been declining steadily.
Now, what does that term mean? High impact titles. What does that mean? Do any of you know? I don't know off the top of my head what that means in corpo speak. High impact titles. I know Actman is explaining it here. It really means like big hits that you can put on Game Pass, but to a consumer, what do you see that term in reference to? Like, if you're just an average person who sees this interview, you may not be interested in knowing anything about CEOs, you just want to know what's the next big game coming out. If you see this as a normal person, and they say high impact title, what does high impact title mean to you? No, this is a serious question I'm asking y'all. Skeleton, Designs, everyone. I want to know, what does high impact title mean to you when you see a corporate person say it? Or when you see it said by anyone? What does that necessarily mean? Does that hold any weight to you? Does that make you feel like this is going to be a larger than life game? What does that term mean to you? Because we don't really say anything about it. We just see it and then we just move on, we gloss over it, and we just continue on until we see something of actual value within the sentence. But what does high impact title mean to us as an individual? What does it mean to you? I'm serious.
Recently, surely Microsoft isn't putting all their eggs in one basket and betting big on Game Pass, right?
They are literally yes. For lack of a better explanation, yes, they are putting all their eggs in one basket. The Game Pass basket. Because they've banked on Game Pass for so many years that out of everything that Xbox does, out of everything that Microsoft does, Game Pass is by far their biggest advertising point for Xbox. If a new game comes out, sure, you could buy it or play it early on Xbox Game Pass. You hear more about Game Pass and what they're doing for Game Pass and how much they love Game Pass and how much they're improving Game Pass, that it makes you wonder, okay, so all this stuff is coming to Game Pass, but how about you talk more about the games?
Right? To double down on these franchises and invest to build new ones requires us to look across the business to identify the opportunities best positioned for success. Do you have dementia? You're looking to invest in successful new IPs? Does he know? This is head of Xbox Game Studios, and he doesn't even know what Hi-Fi Rush is? What? Hold on. Yes, fuck, yeah.
So either he knew about Tango Game Works and he's just glossing over it, trying to look good, or he didn't know at all and no one bothered to tell him that they just dropped a studio that made them millions of dollars. And he's just making this statement obliviously, and no one kept him informed. It couldn't be me. It couldn't be me getting up there in an interview and then trying to pretend like, oh, we are investing so much time in game studios to create memorable, successful, and high-impact games for our consumers, and you let the very example of that game just walk out the door. You give them their box full of stuff, you clear out their desk, you give them a pink slip, you send them a box full of backpack stuff that you can get at a gift shop, and then you just send them on their way. Ain't no way you gonna be a head person of a company and you don't notice how dumb of a decision that is.
It's starting to make sense now.
I can't tell if he's hitting himself with a wooden block or like
exactly as I planned.
like a book, like maybe like a soft book. Because that still looked like it hurt.
It damn well doesn't.
But on the real, this is a really bad.
Let me just say this: killing Micah in Red Dead Redemption 2, so satisfying. Good God, it was so satisfying.
Sign when, like, the same day you're shutting down a studio you're looking for, you say you're looking for studios just like the one you shut down. So you can't really trust Xbox leadership when they say stuff like this. And what you'll find,
it's like see, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. You can't say one thing that contradicts a previous action that you did, because then it's going to make people question the sincerity of your words. You can't fire a person who was an expert at their job, and then the very next day you're talking to people about them, you're talking to people about the job as a whole, and you saying, I wish I could have more employees like the person I just fired. The question will be, why did you fire them? If they were doing the job that you wish you had more people for, why did you fire them in the first place? If they were doing their job well, if they were representing you well, if they were going out of their way to make sure that you looked good in front of everyone, they didn't bring the company down, they brought it up, they made morale better, they made the entire environment better with their mere presence. Why would you get rid of them and then say that you wish you had more people like the person you got rid of? That is this case right here. Why would you praise a game for being successful? You praise it at the beginning. Oh, it's a good game. It's highly successful. Oh, it did very well. Oh, it won rewards. It won millions. It gave us millions of dollars. We need more titles like them. We trust them to release high-impact titles for the future. And then later on, you just let them go. And then the next day, you audibly say, we need more people like the people we just fired. How does that work? How does that work? Does that make sense to anyone at all?
Throughout a lot of their statements is that they contradict their actions all the fucking.
That's where it is. That's the word right there, contradiction. Like a Scottish Asian man from those Starburst commercials. Y'all remember the ones from the early 2000s. If y'all don't know, y'all probably too young for that.
Time. Also, we have to look across the business to identify the best opportunities? You don't have to. Just look at a tweet from your vice president of marketing. Hi-Fi Rush was a breakout hit for us and our players in all key measurements and expectations. We couldn't be happier with what the team at Tango delivered with this surprise release.
I want to go back. This was on April 21st, 2023, when Hi-Fi Rush first came out. It did well. Hi-Fi Rush was a breakout hit for us. A surprise breakout hit. And our players in all key measurements and expectations. All key measurements and expectations. It exceeded everything we thought about it. We couldn't be happier. You know what that means when you say you're happy about something? It means that it fills you with a sense of maybe pride and accomplishment. And whatever reverse feeling you may have had about it is now gone because this object has given you happiness beyond what you could ever imagine. We couldn't be happier with what the team at Tango Game Works delivered with this surprise release. We couldn't be happier. You know what that means to a company when you are told we could not be happier that you're with us. You really have helped this company. We are happy to have you here. That can give a person an immense amount of pride. Like we did something that they're very happy about. Okay. All right. Okay. That's a morale boost. Okay, let's get started on the next sequel. And then they let you go. I thought you said you were happy. We had to rethink some things. You had to rethink being happy? I don't understand. What have I done? You said you were happy, sir. Yes, but we had to rethink some things. We had to restructure. We had to rethink our own happiness. How do you rethink your happiness? I thought we did what you wanted. We did what you asked us to do. We gave you millions of pounds. Dollars if you're American. People like us. They want us to make a sequel. We want to make another sequel. No.
Overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam and Metacritic. Best audio design at the Game Awards. This is like getting straight A's and your principal says you need to be held back. And
that is such a good example. Why is that such a good example? It's like, oh, that is so annoying. Why must Xbox players suffer because of incompetence? Why must Xbox players suffer because of incompetence? That is such a good analogy. That is such a good analogy. You get straight A's at school, but then you get told you're being held back because of reasons. You're the top of your class, but you gotta be held back because we can't afford to have any more smart people. What?
School. Like, what the fuck? We are making these tough decisions to create capacity to increase investment in other.
Oh, stop it. See, this is the corporal speak that I mean. Bethesda, we are making these tough decisions to create, let him say it.
Other parts of our, making these tough decisions to create capacity to increase investment in other parts of our portfolio and focus on our priority games.
We are making these tough decisions to create capacity to increase investment in other parts of our portfolio and focus on our priority games. So you mean to tell me that a game that is successful, that people want more of, is not considered a priority? A game that makes you millions, makes people positive about you in general, is not considered a priority. See, smart people would go along the lines of, hey, this thing that we're doing that's making us money, let's do more of that. Let's do more of that. And if we do more of that, maybe we could switch it up a little. If it doesn't work out, we scale it back and find out what didn't work, but we keep going and doing what people like. We keep giving them what they like. That's our priority. But you mean to tell me that Microsoft is out here looking at highly successful games like Hi-Fi Rush and being all like, this is not a priority at all? At all. Tough decisions to create capacity to increase investments in other parts of our portfolio. Yes, because you're banking so hard on Bethesda to just really carry you for the rest of your lives. Elder Scrolls 6 is so far out. But you want to invest in your portfolio with Bethesda and whatever games you got under your banner, but God, and focus on our priority games. What are your priority games? What are your priority games? It's not Halo, because Halo has not been in a good state for a while now. Halo has not been in a good state for a while now. It's probably passable. People who like Halo, they're probably still playing, but it's not at the state that it used to be, where the mere mention of Master Chief would fill people, not just on Xbox side, but Sony side, because Sony players, we will never know what it's like to play as Master Chief, simply because Well, I know because I used to own a 360. Well, we still got it, but we used to play Halo. Me and my sister, we used to play Halo, Halo Reach, Halo ODST. We like playing it, especially the Horde mode. Me and my sister would try to would play round after round of Horde mode while listening to Daft Punk's soundtrack from Tron Legacy. But we Sony players, we PlayStation players, will never know what it's like to enjoy Master Chief. And yet even we knew that the name Master Chief carried so much weight for the Halo franchise. You say Master Chief now, and it's met with mixed reactions. Some people associate Master Chief with the previous games, but not as much as they do with the newer games. And some of them, unfortunately, associate Master Chief with the lackluster live-action Halo show. You know, the one made by people who clearly never played the games or are ignoring the games in general and are doing the exact opposite of what makes Master Chief Master Chief. But the name Master Chief would carry so much weight for Xbox, and now one of their most well-known characters is literally it's like a take it or leave it state. Like, Master Chief? Hey, Master Chief! Oh, yeah, Master Chief. Like, some people are like, yeah, or yeah. It's never like unanimously like, yes, Master Chief! It's not like that anymore. So what are your priority games? What is the priority games for Xbox? Forza's out there, but there's only so much racing that someone can do before they're wondering, okay, what else you got?
Parts of our portfolio and focus on our priority games. Tough decisions? We have more happier with what the team at Tango delivered. Best our all of you, but not enough money to keep you.
That hurts. That hurts.
We have
to
more
hear.
than enough money.
Microsoft closes Redfall developer Arcane Austin, Hi-Fi Rush developer Tango Game Works, and more devastating cuts at Bethesda IGN. Okay, that's the IGN article that we saw earlier on. We have more than enough money to buy all of you, but not enough money to keep you. How does that work? You got enough money to buy these studios out, but not enough to keep them? So are you basically just buying these studios to keep other companies from getting them? Are you buying these studios just so you can hold on to them? Because why would you get rid of them? Surely you're not buying all these companies to keep other studios or other businesses from getting their hands on them. Surely you're not just wasting money buying companies just to ensure that you can have them and no one else can. And then once you realize, hey, we actually need to put some money into this, don't feel like doing it, and then you just let them go. Surely that can't be the case. I know I'm sounding like a conspiracy theorist when I say that, but surely you can't just be buying companies just for the sake of it. You're actually going to use these companies, right? You actually trust them to make games for your players, right?
Money to buy all of you, but not enough money to keep you. Actually, JK, we do have money to open a brand new sweatshop a week
after Microsoft closed 4 game studios, Microsoft-owned Activision announces a new game studio. Warsaw-based Elsewhere Entertainment is working on something brand new, and no, it's not Call of Duty. Just over a week after Microsoft abruptly shuttered 4 studios, Arcane Austin, Tango Game Works, Alpha Dog Games, and Roundhouse Games, Microsoft-owned Activision has announced the launch of a new internal studio called, Elsewhere Entertainment.
After closing
exclusively focused on creating a new narrative,
sweatshop,
narrative-based and genre-defining AAA franchise. Everybody thinks they're creating a genre-defining game. Everyone does. They always think they are. The moment you start saying your game is going to be genre-defining, it winds up being like, okay, it's not really genre-defining. You don't see Miyazaki saying like Elden Ring is going to be genre-defying. He never said that, and yet Elden Ring is one of the best games that we got of this generation. That's what that is. But for me, the moment you start saying genre-defining, or this will change the way people look at games, I'm looking at you, Neil Druckmann. When people start saying this game is going to be genre-defining, and it changes how people's perspective of how they view video games, it winds up not only failing to do that, but also winds up making people trust these people's words even less. Because when you say genre defining, it needs to be mind blowing. That's what it needs to be, mind blowing. You can't just be saying these words because it sounds nice to say out in public. It needs to blow minds. It needs to be so good that it makes me want to buy an Xbox. And so far, there hasn't been a single reason why I should get one. Even less now after seeing what they're doing to all these studios.
Closing 4 studios. What the fuck is happening? As we look to the future, there's an impressive lineup of games on the horizon. In 2024 alone, we have DLC, new game, DLC. I love how Matt doesn't even mention Hellblade 2, a game that Microsoft isn't promoting at all. And
yeah, I mentioned that earlier as well. Hellblade 2 got absolutely no marketing. You would see so many ads for Elder Scrolls Online and its next DLC expansion. You would see so much about stuff from PlayStation, like Shadow of the Erdtree, or maybe even No Man's Sky or whatever. And strangely enough, for one of the newest games for Xbox, you don't see it being promoted. You don't see it being promoted at all. It's not like you don't got the money for it because you're Microsoft. You have the money. But it's a game that is not being promoted at all. Why is that?
Releases in now? As we look to the future, there's an impressive lineup of games on the horizon. There sure is. I'm really excited for that Perfect Dark reboot. Oh, Perfect Dark reboot, still in very rough state. A big protracted mess.
Okay, so the last time we saw this article, we saw an article like this. It said it was back in 2022 when it was called a big, very rough state. But it's still being called that even now. This article was published on the 8th of May. They might be reiterating what was said, but they may have updated it. Microsoft's Perfect Dark reboot reportedly in a very rough state and a big protracted mess, despite being announced in 2020. So here's the thing: we are past the point of the the cough being used as an excuse of why things can't progress. Sure, things slowed down a lot when the cough was going throughout the world and people had to work from home and face masks were mandatory and people were going crazy buying tons and tons of toilet paper to the point where stores were just empty. But this is like 3 years later now. This is 3 years later. So people are back in their studios working, and working from home is no longer the biggest option for a lot of these gaming studios now. So now there's no excuse of why things can't be progressing. If it's still a mess after all this time, and a year is a long time. 3 years is a long time. So why are things taking a while?
But I'm sure a new trailer for Fable.
All right, I'm back. Family was asking about food.
It's coming around the
We're almost done.
Rough state. A big protracted mess. But I'm sure a new trailer for Fable is coming around the corner. I mean, that was one of my favorite RPGs on the original Xbox. Development is slow due to Playground's inexperience with RPGs. Fantastic. What about State of Decay 3? That's looking pretty good, isn't it? Troubled development with State of Decay 3. Okay, do we get any games? Any games? Rare. They're working on something new, right? Everyone, don't expect Rare's gorgeous new IP to launch anytime soon. It's been rebooted. Okay. Microsoft owns Obsidian.
And the thing about Rare is we already have Sea of Thieves. Which is doing well, and they just released it to PlayStation as well. So it's not even a matter of Rare being in dire straits or anything, because they're not. It's Rare. And now that Sea of Thieves is on PlayStation, that's just a whole bevy of new players that they get to, work with. aside from PC and Xbox players, now we got people on PlayStation that get to enjoy some Rare stuff. So Rare is not in the avenue of really missing a beat. Hold on. Y'all have been talking this whole time and my chat has not updated on my phone. I am so sorry. Y'all must have been talking. Y'all have been talking and my chat did not update. Let me see. 2077 normalized it because they put that potato face MC in the trailer and people universally disliked it. Yeah, it'll sell well, boring game. But I'll only say, hold on. Only say that when it's a corporate man says high value games, either way it's a bad look. I am so sorry. I didn't even notice that chat was moving off to the side there. I apologize for that because I'm using chat on my phone, so I'm not flip-flopping between the screens here. I didn't even notice that my chat stopped moving. I just thought y'all were just listening to me the whole time. And they give them a £5 Xbox gift card on top of all that other stuff once they've made them pack everything up. They want the successful games to make up for the advanced projects they are creating. They spend more money in facial expressions and graphical fidelity when it should be spent on performance and stability. And in those crafted, expensive games, they want to make the money back. The tech has to justify itself, and they keep putting out stuff people do not care about. CJ, it's good to see you. Sorry for being late. Don't even worry about it. You show up whenever you want to. It makes me want to watch a video of what if Microsoft wasn't into console gaming. Sounds kind of schizophrenic to me. Been held back for a while now. Even the statement that it was a surprise hit to Microsoft shows they do not care about simple games if it isn't Starfield quality. They don't value it. Calling something Starfield quality is not a compliment. Simple games that aren't a movie game. Stop, you're making me sad. Don't bring up the good old days. It makes me feel sadder about the current days. Master Chief was the Kratos of Xbox. Yes! He was to Xbox who Kratos is to PlayStation. Or Nathan Drake is to PlayStation. Or Spider-Man is to PlayStation. Or Ratchet and Clank is to PlayStation. You'd be surprised, that's a very real possibility. Simple conclusion, never work at Microsoft or they're going to treat you like that. Yeah, coincidence? I think not. I know this isn't the best example, but WWE used to hire loads of talent and didn't let them go so they could go to wrestle and work for other companies. So they couldn't go to wrestle and work for other wrestling companies. Oh, okay. The only thing Last of Us 2 did was make less people want a Last of Us 3. Look what they did to our girl. Last of Us sucks anyway designs. Yo, Ravi, good to see you. I hate when the program just assumes what you're going to say instead of what you actually typed. I hate that too. Adaptive text is dangerous. Also, D-Train, yo, to you as well. No solutions, only problems and excuses. Okay, all right. Now I'm updated with what you guys have said. I didn't even notice that chat wasn't moving from my phone, but it should be updated now so I can see what you guys are saying. But...
Okay. Microsoft owns Obsidian, and Obsidian always comes in clutch. I bet their new game is coming. Avowed has been rebooted several times.
Avowed was supposed to be the next Skyrim type game that Xbox was supposed to be making. Because I've kept an eye on that one a little bit as well, and I really haven't heard anything from it. But it was essentially supposed to be a brand new fantasy first-person fantasy game. It was supposed to be a brand new game like that. I do not know why chat refuses to update. Oh no, wait, it's still updated. I was looking at the playback. It was weird.
Now you know why Matt Booty is saying they have incredible games on the horizon, but lists 3 DLCs and 1 game. But speaking of Fable, remember when Microsoft...
And now, mind you, all those DLCs, the one new game that they're working on is Indiana Jones, and we don't even know if Indiana Jones is going to be good. See, and since Indiana Jones is going to be a game in first person, wouldn't you prefer if you were able to see Indy's face outside of a cutscene? I know a lot of companies and a lot of games would like to use first person for everything, but I don't think it works for everything. Only on occasion. Fallout, it works. Skyrim, it works. First-person shooters, it works. But if you're going to be playing an adventure game that focuses on someone as well known as Indiana Jones first, person would not be the best option. At least to me, I don't think it would be I don't think it would be like the best option. Cause is it you know what? We'll probably you know what? Hold on. Let me do this. I want to look up, I want to see some game. I want to go to the gameplay of Indiana Jones and you guys tell me. You guys tell me. Monster Hunter collab. The heck is this? Excuse me? Okay, I'll look at that later. Indiana. I can't even spell Indiana. I really can't spell Indiana Jones. And the Great Circle. The only good Indiana Jones game is Lego Indiana Jones. You ain't never lying. That's literally the last good Indiana Jones game we ever got. And it was all the way back in the early 2000s. If they gave the Indiana Jones games the Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga treatment, I bet you anything people would really love to play that. But here's a gameplay trailer for Indiana Jones.
Let me tell you what you are missing, Dr. Jones. While you were playing your pointless game, I was playing you. You're wondering if maybe you should have built yourself a life of meaning instead of ending up here, dead and forgotten in the sense of Africa.
Myths. History. Just different ways to interpret the past.
See, my thing is, they even got Tony Todd in this game. Not saying that has anything to do with the quality of the game.
Scattered and buried.
But the first thing that comes to mind for an Indiana Jones game, and mind you, the screen appears to pull out when you're doing certain things.
Can't just
like
run away from your problems, Indiana.
Watch me.
See, certain instances you can see Indiana, but in first person, the field of vision,
throughout history,
field of view is very necessary for
mankind has
adventure
built
games.
sites of great spiritual significance.
Not every game can pull it off.
If you were to draw a line through these ancient sites around the globe, you get a perfectly aligned circle.
Like, how smooth is this?
I've had run-ins with
How
these guys
smooth
before.
is this in actuality?
Trust me, it ain't a walk in the park.
Okay, then. Let's see if you can keep up.
What do you mean if I could keep up?
Patron of the fallen angels. Protector of the Chirkulimani. The Great Circle. You have any idea how old that was?
Okay, so that was the Indiana Jones and the Great Circle trailer. And that's the next big game that Xbox has got going. But you really don't hear anything else about anything else that they're doing that has had recent, publicity. Save for DLC. We should get together and make our own game. None of us know anything about making video games. You're only gonna give them Dragon's Dogma 2 creation and combat Elden Ring enemies in the story and fashion of Final Fantasy XIV, and then the lore of a Souls game. People would eat that stuff up, be playing it for years. See, You're asking for that amalgamation of different types of genres and games all mashed up into one, but it really comes down to how well of a team you have in order to pull that sort of thing off. It's not easy. It is not easy, and it would take a long time to create. As Halster referenced about the WWE, they're just wasting talent projects just so their competition can't use them. That's what I said earlier.
Shut down.
But let's get through
Lionhead
this.
Studios,
We're almost done.
and they were like, it was one of the biggest missteps.
We acquired Lionhead in 2006, shut it down in 2016. A couple years later, we reflected back on that experience. What did we learn? How do we not repeat our same mistakes?
Then you've learned nothing.
What makes someone a failure is
No, they haven't learned anything. They haven't learned anything. We opened up the studio. We shut it down. Then we thought later, how do we not repeat these same mistakes? Yeah, they repeated that same mistake. They didn't open a studio with Tango Game Works, however. They're just shutting down they're just shutting down studios, multiples even.
How do we not repeat?
Actually, hold on. No, hold on. We're going to do a little bit of a history lesson here. Let's see. Founded in Tango Game Works, based in Tokyo, founded in March 2010 by Shinji Mikami, previously of Capcom. The company was acquired by ZeniMax Media in October that year after suffering financial issues. And ZeniMax is owned by Bethesda. And Bethesda is basically owned by Microsoft. Pretty much. So yeah, they are kind of repeating their same mistakes again. Those who do not learn their history are doomed to repeat it. Did Kathleen Kennedy have a hand in that game too? No, thankfully not, but who knows. There are no new ideas, and they make it look more complicated than what is full games being made by a single person. Choo Choo Charles was a successful game made by one guy. No Man's Sky is out there made by a handful of people, and they keep releasing updates. No Man's Sky just had a brand new update today. A brand new expedition, and they said that the expedition, it was meant to be just like a simple expedition that they just added onto the game, and they've made it so that, frankly, what they've added in the expedition is so big, it might as well be a brand new update. New ships, new ship parts, new universes, new planets, new encounters, new everything. Even more, there's like a whole list of patch notes for today's No Man's Sky's update, and they continue to release updates for No Man's Sky with no money down. They continue to release these updates free of charge. In every update, they keep saying, like, our journey continues, and they're working on a whole brand new game, which if No Man's Sky stuck with what they were doing earlier, and maybe, or when I say stuck with what they were doing, if they just decided to, let's just leave No Man's Sky forever, no one would be interested in their new game, Light No Fire. But now, after seeing just how much effort they've put into it, by far the most willing to put in the effort to right a lot of wrongs that happened with the game at launch, now people are excited for the next game. Instead of it being like Light No Fires, instead of it being like 18 quintillion planets throughout an entire universe, is just one big, gigantic, massive world for people, multiples of people to explore. And if they put the same level of effort into developing it after launch and adding to it as they done with No Man's Sky, Hello Games is for me, they've already cemented themselves as one of the biggest underdogs in gaming history with what they did with No Man's Sky at launch compared to what it is right now. They do the same for Light No Fire. Hello Games is they're already one of my top developers right now. They already are. They haven't given me a reason to say like, no, they suck, because they actually came back and stuck with it. So with Light No Fire, if they put that same effort they did into No Man's Sky, and they're doing No Man's Sky, if they do No Man's Sky at the same time, then big companies, because Hello Games is an indie studio. They're an indie studio. They just have their games on the multiple platforms, but they're indie. There's literally no excuse why Microsoft can't give Xbox players good games. There's no excuse. and stick with it and make it better over and over and over again, or give people reasons to invest in them. There's literally no reason. There's no reason.
Repeat our same mistakes.
Then you've learned nothing.
What makes someone a failure is not the act of failing, but learning nothing from it.
Okay, so Act Man is preaching here. Oh my goodness, that is ridiculous. Failure is not... Hold on, let me...
Is not the act of failing.
Failure is not the act of failing, but learning nothing from it. So Microsoft hasn't really learned anything. You are failing! I'm sorry.
But learning nothing from it. You have learned nothing. With all the studio shutdowns, Xbox leadership continues to fail, learn nothing, and keep making the same mistakes decade after decade. Splatoon is a great example of how if you foster a sleeper hit, it can become an enormous franchise all on its own. At Xbox, if you make a sleeper hit, they fire you. If buying games doesn't support the studio, give me one good reason to buy a single Microsoft game ever again. Well said. Does Xbox even remember how the PS3 managed to pull ahead? Remember when Uncharted 2 was such a sensation that gave back the prestige Sony needed to make their console a necessity? Notice how there's a 2? Because Naughty Dog was allowed to make a sequel that was a bigger hit. It's funny you say that because the real reason Tango was shut down is because they were pitching a sequel and wanted to hire more staff. What? Hit. It's funny you say that because the real
I gotta hear that again.
Reason Tango was shut down is because they were pitching a sequel and wanted to hire more staff.
So what?
Is because they were pitching a sequel and wanted to hire more staff.
So the reason why they canned Tango Game Works is because Tango wanted to make a sequel to Hi-Fi Rush, but needed more people. And instead of giving them people, they shut them down. Someone point out to me what's wrong with this picture. I already see the issue. Hey, we want to make a sequel. Can we have more people? Please, sir, may we have more people to make our sequel? More? You close a studio down because you didn't want to give them more people to make a sequel to a hit. What?
Is because they were pitching a sequel and wanted to hire more staff. What you say? That you only meant what? According to an article from Jason Schreier, Tango was in the process of pitching a sequel. Matt Booty praised Hi-Fi Rush, but did not specify why the studio was shut down. Booty said that the company's studios had been spread too thin, like peanut butter on bread.
Speaking about the closures more... Hold on, let me go back. During a town hall with ZeniMax staff on Wednesday morning, Xbox president Matt Booty, really living up to that last name here with these decisions, right? Praised Hi-Fi Rush, but did not specify why the company had shut down the development studio behind it, according to 3 people who were in attendance. Of course, because they don't want it getting out that we made a very dumb decision that would not make any sense, but since we're in charge, no one would object to us, so we're not even going to bother explaining or telling anyone. We're not going to tell you in detail. Only the people that we know would agree with us will tell them, but we're not going to tell anyone else, because if the word got out that the decision that we did in order to close down all these studios was in fact an incredibly stupid decision that we all know people would object to, it would make us look bad. As if closing these studios didn't make you look bad already.
Hi-Fi Rush, but did not specify why the studio was shut down. Booty said that the company's
okay, hold on.
Studios had been spread too thin, like peanut butter on bread.
Hold on, let me go back. Speaking about the closures more broadly, Booty said that the company studios have been spread too thin like peanut butter on bread and that leaders across the division had felt understaffed. They decided to close these studios to free up resources elsewhere. Where are those resources going? Huh? Where are those resources going? Are they going to go to something that is going to make more money than Hi-Fi Rush? Because if I don't see any successful hits for Microsoft for the rest of this year, it's gonna make me question, where'd you put all those money? Where did you put all those resources at? If I'm not seeing that Xbox is succeeding all of a sudden after closing down 4 whole studios, if I don't see that at all for the rest of this year, I'm gonna question, where did you put those resources at? Like, it's like looking at Overwatch 2. You had all those 4 years of making people wait for Overwatch 2, only to tell everyone, hey, all this time we said we were spending developing this one thing, we're no longer going to do it. We're just going to keep Overwatch 2 as Overwatch 1, and we're not going to give you, like, the full scope of why we truly did it. Our reasons for, like, it didn't meet with our vision is just a flat-out lie. But, yeah. If I don't see any success stories from Xbox... If I don't see any success stories from Xbox after this statement, for the rest of the year, then there was no reason for you to get rid of Hi-Fi Rush. If I don't see anything majorly good happening for Xbox for the rest of this year. What a quirky last name for a company, man. Yeah. Also easy to make fun of, too. This man is acting like his last name.
I feel thin, sort of stretched, like butter scraped.
Microsoft becomes the second ever $3 trillion company after laying off 1,900 people. I bet you would be making a whole bunch of money when you pretty much get rid of 1,900 people. That's a whole bunch of paychecks you ain't got to put out there. So that's going to boost up your company value. Hey, we just became a $3 trillion company by letting go of 1,900 people. That's a lot of people who are now out of a job. That's a lot of families who are not going to be able to go on vacation like they wanted to because daddy or mommy are not going to be able to go back to their previous jobs. But we became a $3 trillion company. We must have more. So, if you're a $3 trillion company, there shouldn't be any reason why we should see any more closures, right? Right? We should see more success stories going forward. You've reached $3 trillion. So obviously you have more than enough money to make sure that you guys never fall into the negative with people's opinions of you, right? I don't get this. Apple previously became the first company to reach the milestone in December of last year. Okay.
Over too much bread.
We're almost
added
done.
that the shutdown of Arcane Austin was not connected to the performance of Redfall. So we have two polar opposites. We have a complete flop.
Booty added that the shutdown of subsidiary Arcane Austin, the longtime developer of games such as Prey, was not connected to the performance of its new multiplayer game Redfall, a critical and commercial flop. So, if anything, Redfall, if they're talking about like we were spread too thin, then get rid of the one that was eating up the most resources and not giving you a good enough payout back. It would have made more sense for them to get rid of Arcane Austin because of Redfall, because it was not giving them any major returns. But as for Hi-Fi Rush, it was successful. And they still got rid of it. And the Tango just wanted to make a sequel, and they just needed more people. They just needed more people, and you let them go. Redfall was beyond saving. I'm sorry, but it was beyond saving. Adding an offline mode was not going to save it. It was already bad from the jump. It was okay to get rid of that, but not Hi-Fi Rush. I made you money. Good. Now get out. What do you mean get out? You're fired. But I made you money. I don't care. But you're now more successful because of me. Yes. Now go.
Redfall. So we have two polar opposites. We have a complete flop, and we have a critically acclaimed borderline masterpiece. Both studios behind them are shut down, and it's not because of how they performed. Jason writes, both Tango and Arcane were looking to hire additional staff as they pitched new projects, which Booty and Braff suggested was the main factor behind their closures. Just further evidence, Booty and Braff.
Yeah, this is confirmation right here. That's ridiculous. Tango and Arcane released games last year and were looking to hire additional staff as they pitched new projects, which Booty and Braff just suggested was a main factor behind their closures. We can afford to buy you, but we can't afford to keep you. Like that same statement we just looked at. We can afford to buy you out, but we can't afford to keep you. We're also a $3 trillion company, but we can't afford to keep you. Y'all know how much trillions of dollars is? Hold on. Let's just be smart. Trillion. A very large number or amount. That means absolutely nothing. That is a number with 12 zeros. A trillion is a number with 12 zeros. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. A trillion is a number with 12 zeros. If you can't afford to keep a studio that is successful, and your business makes figures that rise into 12 zeros, you got poor people in charge, let alone $3 trillion, and you can't afford to keep a successful studio.
Suggested was the main factor behind their closures. Just further evidence of how disposable you are if you work for Microsoft. I've already talked about the massive fucking contracting issues they have with hiring staff and not keeping them on long enough to learn the engine and code that they're working with on a game. But Jesus, man. The massive Activision Blizzard acquisition has ramped up scrutiny on the Xbox division from leaders at Microsoft. Bingo! Ding, 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 ding! It's time to cut costs so that our profit margins, if we have any, look better, because that's all we're in charge of. So basically, these studios were closed to save money and the asses of Xbox leadership. That's the real answer.
And that's what annoys me the most. That's what annoys me the most. You get people out here who get into this business, get into this gaming business because they have a dream. They have a vision. They see what gaming could be. They want to bring their own dreams for games to life, and they get an opportunity, and they get into a company like Microsoft thinking, okay, this will be the perfect opportunity for me to show the world my vision for gaming, or at least my vision for a game that I want to make. And you do it, you get a whole bunch of people, you have a good time, you develop it. There's no crunch involved, because I don't think there was ever any crunch involved with Hi-Fi Rush's making, which is good, because the less games that have to suffer from crunch, the better, because there's nothing worse than an employee feeling like they got to be forced to come into work for extended periods of time to the point where they are beyond exhausted and they can't perform their job. But you get into this company thinking that you're going to be able to make a difference, you're going to be able to make your dream game, and you supposedly have the support of the people who hired you. You make the game. It is a sleeper hit. It comes out of nowhere. It is massively successful. It gets so many rewards. It gets so much acclaim that it's become so big that it's now bigger than the console it launches on, and then proceeds to launch on another console because that's how great it is. And the people who hired you let you go because they want to save money. Instead of looking at the people that can, instead of looking at you as a person that can make them more money so that they don't have to let you go to cut costs, they let you go to cut costs so that they don't have to do anything drastic for themselves. I hate that. I hate that. Because now any dreams of Hi-Fi Rush ever getting a sequel is now permanently dead because of Microsoft's incompetence. I've never played the game, yet I understand why people like it so much. I understand it. And to see its potential for it to become a franchise instead of just a single one-off game, it's so disappointing. The potential just snuffed out because we want to save some more money. Then why did you bother in the first place? What was the point?
Only explanation that makes any sense.
The workers here need to know they ain't ever getting out of that hole.
To be honest, since Microsoft axed them, I hope they stick together and make a spiritual successor for the Hi-Fi Rush. The corps are not all that necessary. Humans will always be the resource. That's true. Hopefully someone will come along and gather up the people that made up Tango Game Works and they get back to doing what they do best, and that's making some good games. Because Ghostwire Tokyo was freaky, but it was also the closest thing to a competent Jujutsu Kaisen game that we got. Not counting Curse Clash because I'm so tired of arena fighters. But hopefully one day Shinji Mikami and his team, maybe they'll get back together and create a brand new studio under a new banner, you know, being helmed by people who trust them to make some good stuff, and maybe we'll get a spiritual successor for the Hi-Fi Rush. But under Microsoft, it's not a matter of if you get fired, it's only a matter of when. And that's a poor thing to say, but if you're successful and you can still get fired despite how successful you are, just because people want to save money, that doesn't leave a lot of hope. It doesn't leave a lot of hope.
Dug themselves into. This world is sick, dark, sad.
Xbox promised to support less sprawling creative titles like Hi-Fi Rush with smaller budgets and lower sales expectations. It didn't matter if a game sold tens of millions of copies as long as it helped bolster the Game Pass library. And herein lies the fatal flaw with Microsoft's strategy. They are no longer interested in developing high-quality games that sell well. They're only interested in boosting their main source of income, Game Pass. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Game Pass. It's great for consumers. And I'm not criticizing the concept of Game Pass. What I'm criticizing is the all-in bet on it. This strategy is not resulting in best-selling games. There seems to be no standard of quality at Microsoft with their first-party titles, and they're sacrificing other means of revenue to funnel everything down a single lane.
You acquire a studio for what they're great at now, and your job is to help them accelerate how they do what they do, not them accelerate what you do.
Looks like...
But that's exactly... But Spencer... Phil Spencer, sir, that's exactly what you're doing. You're supposed to be helping these studios grow and realize their potential to make them better. Not have them do something, and then when they do that one thing, you suddenly decide, no, you're taking up too many resources, we gotta let you go. I thought the whole point was to nurture them so that they can do what they do better. So they can make you more money. So that you don't have to let them go. Now, the whole opposite of that statement is being said here. So how can you trust the words of people who say we want to encourage diversity, we wanted to encourage creativity, and then after you make something that exemplifies what they're looking for, they let you go regardless? How can you trust someone? How can you trust a company like that? And like I said, I'm not saying this to bash on Xbox and Microsoft, just the people in charge. How can you ask someone to trust you if you don't even trust them after their first success? Let me see here. I'll be honest, Tango Game Works probably dodged a bullet because knowing Microsoft, when Tango Game Works would be making a Hi-Fi Rush sequel, that game will probably suffer. Hi-Fi Rush in and of itself is something of a spiritual successor to the Jet Set grind radio games, or would have been, because they probably make them rush it so they can make loads of money and all that stuff and just push it onto Game Pass like they do literally everything else. What I'm trying to say is the sequel probably would have suffered from that time crunch issue. Microsoft, the incompetent version of the Shi'ar Empire. And Spencer's Blackbird. Because of... Or was that... Was that Blackbird? I think it was Blackbird. I forget her name. Because of Microsoft's greed and wanting money and profits now. It's...
like Phil had a change of heart, because now all that matters is what can you bring to Game Pass. So some of you are watching this video and you might be thinking, well, Ackman, that's just business. You shut down the studios and departments that aren't making you money. That's just how it is.
I don't think that. I think if a business sees people as potential right then and there money makers, and don't consider them to be like potential long-term money makers, if they're just thinking like, how much money can I make right now, instead of how much money can I make continuously, that's a wrong way to think of it. I definitely don't think that about these businesses, because these businesses get on my nerves on how they treat people under them.
Don't like it, but what can you do? Well, let's analyze Microsoft's strategy for making money off of Hi-Fi Rush. A new IP with zero brand recognition is shadow dropped without any marketing. Literally, the marketing budget for Hi-Fi Rush was 62 cents. It's put on Game Pass the same day it comes.
There was barely any marketing for Hi-Fi Rush, and it was a massive success. The same can be said for Hellblade 2, Senua's Sacrifice, and I mean, the game exists.
Out, so we're not getting massive sales, but subscriptions, and it was hardly promoted at all after this, but it spread like wildfire because of word of mouth. This is also besides the point that Microsoft had an opportunity to show this game just a few months prior at the 2022 Game Awards, but they were completely absent there.
It's a bad sign when there were more Muppets at the Game Awards than Xbox World Premieres.
So in my humble opinion, for all intents and purposes, Hi-Fi Rush...
I'm sorry, but that's kind of embarrassing. If there was more Muppets than actual Xbox premieres at the Game Awards. So y'all must be working on something incredibly amazing for y'all to barely be there.
Was at worst set up to fail, and at best was given no help from Microsoft. And yet, despite all of these factors, it was a breakout hit in every key metric. If you want to argue that Hi-Fi Rush didn't make enough money and that's why they had to shut the studio down, that fault is 1000% on Microsoft. Leadership fucks up and the talent gets axed. This is why Xbox's current business model of all-in bet on Game Pass is not sustainable long-term. There's a great post that sums everything up, so pause if you want to read it all. But here's a highlight.
Ooh, I want to read it.
There's a great post that sums everything up, so pause if...
All right, Brad Hildebrand. There are two reasons why all those Bethesda studios closed, and neither of them have anything to do with Bethesda directly. Game Pass and Activision. The biggest paradox with Game Pass is that basically every game that launches on the service badly misses its sales goals. Makes sense, though. Why pay full price to buy a game when you can play it for free as part of your subscription? This is accounted for somewhat by attributing portions of revenue to top-performing Game Pass games every month. But there are factors working against games. Namely, the fact that most games don't stay at the top of the chart for more than a month or two. And also that Game Pass growth has stagnated. So games like Hi-Fi Rush, which is incredible, mind you, gets a very small bump in revenue from being the hot Game Pass game for a month. Then it falls off a cliff when everyone moves on to the next thing, which is always the case with games. Poor Redfall had it even worse since it launched so rough it never had a chance. This system was fine for a while when Game Pass was growing like gangbusters, but now it's slowed way down, and the amount of revenue it's attributing to games and the amount of revenue it's attributing to games isn't keeping up with the budgets to make them. But all that wouldn't have mattered even 3 or 4 years ago, because back then Xbox was basically a rounding error on Microsoft's books. The division made some money, but more importantly, it didn't cost that much, and other parts of the business easily covered the gap. Then Xbox went on a buying spree and spent a lot of money on Bethesda, but orders of magnitude more on Activision. Now the Eye of Sauron has turned, and Xbox is expected to start making that $770 billion back, or at least cut expenses to the bone and then some while they try. That brings us back to Game Pass. So far, the big bets on driving new subscriptions, Redfall, Starfield, haven't spurred near enough growth, and there's not much on the horizon that is likely to restart the momentum. The best bet is Call of Duty, but do you really risk the guaranteed sales revenue that franchise brings by putting it on Game Pass day one and potentially lose massive sales? I don't know what the plans are, but either you put it on Game Pass and lose money, or you don't and the subscribers revolt because they think that's what they signed up for. Call of Duty will be fine though, as will the other mega studios with huge IPs. But you're seeing the, hold on, I gotta full screen this so I can see the whole word here. Let's see, but you're seeing the impact. All those smaller studios making real interesting games are going to fall away, simply because as good as games like Hi-Fi Rush are, they're never going to make enough money to make up that $70 billion hole that Xbox now has to dig itself out of. That was a good read. With corps like Microsoft, after seeing so many buy Hi-Fi Rush, they would probably try to make it sequel a service because it made them money one way. Why not the common way? The more annoying way is the way is a way to say that.
If you want to read it all. But here's a highlight. The biggest paradox with Game Pass is that basically every game that launches on the service badly misses its sales goals. Makes sense though. Why pay full price to buy a game when you can play it for free as part of your subscription? Microsoft says it needs games like Hi-Fi Rush the day after killing its studio. I can't do this anymore, man. We need smaller games that give us prestige and awards. This is the guy in charge of Xbox. What is he saying and doing? Again, look at Capcom.
It tells you just how oblivious you are to like public opinion if you say something that literally contradicts an action that happened the day before. We need more games like Hi-Fi Rush. Literally the day after Hi-Fi Rush gets closed, Hi-Fi Rush's studio gets closed down. That just shows you a high level of either obliviousness or just horrible ability to read the room.
They are soaring right now because of video game sales. So what's the plan, Microsoft? You gonna keep gambling? You gonna push COD onto Game Pass? Are you going to risk the guaranteed consistency?
Microsoft, when was this posted? Microsoft debating Call of Duty on Game Pass along with another price hike. Yes, because all Game Pass owners love to see the price of their subscription service go up. That's gonna generate more revenue for you. That's gonna cause you to get more subscribers to your service. Increase the price. Someone point out the obvious thing wrong with this thought process.
Sales of Call of Duty to boost subscribers for Game Pass? That's risky. In the eyes of Xbox, it seems like the efforts of an individual studio is not important. It doesn't matter how much your game sells or how prestigious and critically acclaimed it is. What matters is your contribution to Game Pass. Did you move the needle a little bit? This sounds like communism. Not enough? No, these awards aren't enough. Where's the award for most Game Pass subscriptions driven? So again, by focusing so much on Game Pass and accessibility, Microsoft is putting their games on Steam. Game Pass applies to PC as well. They're launching their exclusive titles also on PlayStation and other consoles, so there's no real exclusives for Xbox anymore. Everything is multi-platform now, so there's no particular reason to buy a Series X, which is driving down sales of the console, so it's not looking good. I feel like now is a good time to dismantle the bullshit marketing for the Series X being the world's most powerful console.
Okay, so y'all remember when Xbox and Microsoft were really trying to boast about Xbox being the world's most powerful console? Why are y'all releasing games that only run at 30 FPS? If it's the world's most powerful console, every single game you release for it should have a 60 FPS mode. You cannot boast about your system being the most powerful and your games don't run that way. See, it sounds nice when you're marketing the game. World's most powerful console. Can it run Starfield? At least previously, because now apparently it can run at 60 FPS. But then again, it's variable. It's variable. Can it run your brand new $70 game at 60 FPS? No, because we're having difficulty running it at that. I thought you said Xbox was the world's most powerful console. There shouldn't be any reason for you calling it the world's most powerful console and it can't run everything competently. There is no excuse. PlayStation is no excuse either. There are plenty of games that don't run at 60 FPS and they should be running it. These are the newest iteration. These are the newest iteration of these consoles. PlayStation is not exempted from this verbal roasting, okay? So there are games on PlayStation that should be running at 60 FPS, but they don't. But you don't see PlayStation calling itself the world's most powerful console. Matter of fact, let me just make sure. I want to make sure that they never said anything. Did they say world's most powerful console? I want to make sure that they haven't said anything like we're the most powerful console or sort of marketing or anything. No, I'm just seeing people call it talking about the PS5 Pro or whatever. No, their advert is all like play has no limits. That's all they always say. Play has no limits. They're not saying like we're the world's most powerful console, but hey, play with no limits. That's ambiguous. It's not like, okay, what kind of limits? It's whatever. But they leave it ambiguous so that whenever game they release, it's out there. And though, like I said, every game that releases on these newer generation hardwares should be running smooth, absolutely no problem. But you don't see PlayStation saying that their console is stronger than Xbox or saying that we're the world's most powerful console. Xbox is saying that, and they are not showing it.
Because almost no game is capable of taking advantage of its specs. Hey Phil, how come Starfield only runs at 30 frames? Starfield running at 30 FPS on Series X was a creative choice.
It was not a creative decision. The hardware that they were using to run Starfield is based on an engine from the early 2000s. From the early 2010s. The engine that Starfield is running on is not meant to be running on a console that should have a better engine for it. That's not a creative decision. Bethesda just got lazy and decided to rehash an old engine that they've always been using and then build a game on top of it, of a decade-old engine that has very shaky legs. It's like telling your grandma to carry this trunk full of bricks on her back. But it's the trunk that's brand new, so it shouldn't be that difficult for her to carry up.
Trust not limited by our commitment to the Series S at all. There hasn't been a killer app for the Series X, and if there has, you can play it somewhere else. See, Microsoft's biggest advantage back in the day was that they knew software really well. So with the original Xbox, all they had to do was make a console that worked with the software they had. This made it much easier to develop games on the Xbox.
At that time, Japanese game consoles had very proprietary chipsets, and they just didn't work very well for, Western developers. What the DirectX group was proposing was, there's a better way to do this. We're going to use PC architecture that you're familiar with, which is just going to work out of the gate, so they could spend more time crafting and building their games.
They had an incredibly developer-friendly story. You already know how to write these games. If you've written them for PC, you can write them for console as well.
This is no longer the case with the Series X. Like I said, all these fucking games are delayed, rebooted, or whatever. Arguably, what was Microsoft's biggest technical advantage in breaking into the console market is now killing them. Because Microsoft requires feature parity between the Series X and Series S. Tell me how this is the world's most powerful console when every game has to be designed for hardware that's weaker. Remember when Baldur's Gate 3 came out and there was some confusion about why it wasn't on Xbox? That's because split-screen co-op didn't work on Series S. I'm getting deja vu here, huh? Because of this careless oversight and estimating Baldur's Gate 3 to be worth like $5 million, Microsoft missed out on the first 4 months of sales for the 2023 Game of the Year. What are we doing? What are we doing? They only made an exception 3 weeks after launch because they saw the game explode and thought, uh-oh, we fucked up again. Again, what's the point of owning the world's most powerful console if every game has to be reduced in size, scale, scope, fidelity, technically, everything to run on weaker hardware? I understand wanting to offer gamers a cheaper alternative to the Series X, but in hindsight, it's fucking stupid because you cheapen the experience on the premium console in the quest for accessibility. Here's a head scratcher.
See, looking at the dialogue and looking at the gameplay for Starfield, and I was literally just playing Fallout earlier this morning. I'm still working on my next video for Fallout 4. As I go through the story, I'm just recording a whole bunch of stuff right now. And I'm looking at the gameplay and the interactions and how characters behave, and I'm noticing that characters in Starfield don't feel as lively as they do in Fallout 4. Like, say for example, and I'm gonna look up a video. It probably won't be on this stream, but I'm gonna look up a video of character interactions in Starfield, and then look at the character interactions for Fallout 4. And one character that sticks out to me as very emotive and very, very animated is Piper. When you first get introduced to Piper, you try to talk to her, you get to have this cinematic camera where she's talking, and she's doing all these hand gestures, you know, behaving very humanly. And then you look at people in Starfield, and they're just slightly swaying back and forth while they're talking to you, and then maybe their eyes will get furrowed, but they won't move, they won't talk to you while it just feels very stilted, you know? Like, I'm just looking at you, and then maybe I'll tilt my head to the side, and maybe I'll shrug my shoulders a little bit, and then I'll unfurrow my eyebrows when I'm talking about something that will require my eyebrows to be unfurrowed. And it seems very, very, very robotic. It feels like very, very robotic. Very robotic. But I look at people talking in Fallout, and I mean, there's far more characters who are very, very animated and very they act more human, for lack of a better word. They behave human like, versus Starfield, where everyone is just basically what is his name, Adam from Prometheus, acting very robotic and not at all grounded in reality. It's weird. Like I said, I'm gonna look at interactions between people. If I don't see a single person who's actually moving around and speaking and actually feels like they're fully animated, then what are we doing?
For you. Why did people stick around with the Xbox 360 despite it being one of the faultiest consoles ever created?
That sounds like my family. Yeah, that sounds like my family grabbing food. Let me help that bring that in, and then we will continue with this. I'll say my piece, and then we'll call it a session. I'll be right back. Hold tight, everyone. Hold tight. All right. Designs, you're off. All right. Be happy, safe and well. Thank you, Designs. I hope you have a wonderful day as well. CDs, I see you. Let me see. If so, don't spoil anything I mentioned to Kyushu. Recommend him to check it out because he'll see why he can't stand a certain person if you know who. Let me see what you guys have said. Let's see. Very lucky with my 360. So was I, because some of my first 360 games for me was Left 4 Dead 2. That was the game that jump-started my younger sister's love for zombie games. Left 4 Dead 2. For me, it was I think one of my most favorite games on 360 was Splosion Man from Xbox Arcade. Splosion Man, and I think I played Batman Arkham Asylum on the 360 first, and because I didn't play all of the Batman games on PlayStation exclusively. I played Batman Arkham Asylum on 360 first, since that was our first console. We didn't get PlayStation 3s or anything of that nature until much later on. Our only PlayStation games we had going for us was PlayStation 2s, even when we were playing our Xbox 360s. So that was that. And another game that I really liked was Halo ODST, though my memories of playing ODST are incredibly vague at best. And then after that, it was Halo Reach. Well, actually, I think I played Halo 3, then ODST, and then Halo Reach. So many good memories of those games. But yeah, CDs, it's good to see you. Where the food? It's off to the side where I'm going to eat it once I'm done. I'm not eating it right here. This is my workstation. I really don't like to eat here. Eat here. Oh, Gears of War. Oh, the memories I had from Gears of War on the 360 of me and my dad playing Horde mode together. Our favorite map was the village in the snow that had like a whole barn where the only entryway was like the front door, and then the only way across for the locusts to get across was like this big old bridge. And me and my dad would spend hours playing Horde mode together, where our plan was always I would be upstairs. Sniping everyone in the distance, and he would be downstairs. He favorited the assault rifle and the shotgun, and I would be the one using a sniper rifle and a pistol. And our method of getting through the rounds was like taking these grenades and embedding them in walls so that they would trigger as soon as someone ran in there. And we would just mow through these hordes of locusts over and over and over again. And it was just so much fun. And I also think my first foray into Borderlands was playing the first Borderlands game on 360, and that pretty much jump-started my love of the Borderlands series as well. I have a lot of fond memories. of playing on the 360. However, when I transitioned over to playing the PlayStation pretty much exclusively until I got a Switch, there really hasn't been any major reasons for me to get an Xbox. And seeing the state of where Xbox is right now, I really don't see that changing. And it's very sad to see the state of Microsoft and how it's using Xbox and how it's not really instilling confidence of people being confident in purchasing an entire Xbox when they don't treat their studios well across the board. To the point where if they get rid of 4 studios, it does not make them look better in any way just because they're saving money, but it actually makes them look worse because they're getting rid of competent talent. And I'm mainly saying Tango Game Works with Hi-Fi Rush. Like when they release games and the games are not successful, it doesn't inspire confidence. But when you also have a game release and it's massively successful and you fire them, that also doesn't inspire confidence. It's like a give and take for this company towards its consumers. and it doesn't feel like a lot of the consumers are actually being given anything. They're having take things taken from them. Money for the console, money for the games, and that's basically it. And Microsoft is giving you what they got. Not giving you their best, but what they have. And just mismanaging across the board. Let's finish up this video because my food's still hot. But like I said, for everyone who owns an Xbox, I'm not bashing on Xbox as a whole, just the mismanagement of it and how the potential for Xbox to be pretty much neck and neck with both PlayStation and Nintendo and the Switch, and just the desire to play literally anything they got. It should be better for Xbox. There should be such an effort to make Xbox even better than PlayStation, but I don't see that happening if this line of thinking that they got for all the studios that they have and how they're treating the studios that actually bring them money and are actually successful. I don't see that happening for a while. It's going to take a miracle. It's going to take an actual act of God before Xbox ever gets into a state where I can say, I sure wish PlayStation could do what Xbox is doing, but I don't see that happening. I'm not trying to be rude. Trust me, I'm not. I'm not trying to turn this into a... How long have I been streaming? I want to say roughly like 2 hours. I'm not trying to turn this into a 2-hour session of me just bad-mouthing Xbox. But, I mean, I gotta call it like I see it. Xbox is not doing what it needs to be doing to make itself stay relevant on the same vein as PlayStation and Nintendo. And I really feel like anybody who plays Xbox should feel insulted that you are not getting your due as a consumer. The amount of money you may be putting in for Game Pass or the amount of money you put into fresh games from Xbox is not being reciprocated with even better stuff to look forward to. And I feel like that Xbox and Microsoft are doing you a disservice by not giving you what you deserve, which is great games that you can tell people about, that you can show off, and that will make people want to buy an Xbox console. I just feel like y'all are not getting y'all just desserts. Y'all are not getting what y'all are owed, and that is good product. Xbox is literally Homelander if Homelander had less strength, but people still saw him as like this high sought after, this holier than thou higher individual. And everyone else who sees Xbox / Homelander is like, you are not worthy of my respect. You are not a god. You are simply bad product. And that is the situation that Xbox is in right now. It shouldn't be. But that's where it is. Let's finish up.
Because the games were good. Pick any year a gamer. Why did people stick around with the Xbox 360 despite it being one of the faultiest consoles ever created? Because the games were good. Pick any year of game releases for the 360 and it will
Assassin's Creed. Oh, that's one of my favorite games as well. Assassin's Creed 2 on the Xbox 360, I want to say was one of my first Assassin's Creed games. I played through the first one later on, but Assassin's Creed 2 was one of my first Xbox 360 games, along with Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare back then as well. I remember playing one of my very few online matches for Call of Duty, and I got a kill streak with a UAV, and it was one of the most fun things to ever. It's one of the most fun things to ever happen to me playing Call of Duty at all. And I never attempted it again because I'm not that big into PvP type games. I'm an Xbox player and I've been wanting to say that. Oh, I'll say it. You know what's crazy? I'm sure half the people behind Xbox are from our generation, and how are they making bad taste of games, but they experience what we grew up. How do you not learn from the classics? It's all a matter of, you could have people who have grown up in the same generation as we have be in charge, but they can't do anything if the shareholders who are essentially also supplying these companies money so that they can keep doing what they're doing if they don't share those same values.
Surpass whatever we have seen on the Series X.
Grand Theft
Xbox
Auto
used to
4,
be a
Dead
huge
Space, one of
innovator.
my first
Tell
Xbox
me what the
360
Series
games as
X
well.
has innovated in. Xbox used to be a huge innovator, far surpassed whatever we have seen on the Series X. Xbox used to be a huge innovator. Tell me what the Series X has innovated in. Backwards compatibility? Sure, a bit, but we had that on the 360 too. Microsoft is not innovating with video games. They are innovating how you consume them. Now,
that's a good question. What is Xbox doing now that's innovating their games? Mind you, some people could say the same of Sony, but no, they're adapting. They're kind of adapting with their games. Mind you, Sony really needs to stop trying to re-release and remaster games that have barely been out 2 years. We don't need a Last of Us Part 2 remake. We don't need... frankly, we don't need any remakes from Naughty Dog. Stop making remakes. Give us remasters of old games that are no longer being made. Can I get Transformers War for Cybertron or Fall of Cybertron back, please? Can I get... and we're supposed to be getting Sly Cooper and the Thieves Raccoonus. You know, in a long time, one of the few PlayStation 2 games, classics, that is being re-released that isn't like Star Wars related. Can we get more of that? Can we get more PlayStation 2 games? Can I get X-Men Legends 1 and 2? Can I get SSX Tricky? Can I get SSX 3? Can I get Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4? Like, classics. That's what I'm asking of Sony. This isn't a Sony thing, but like, can we get some more of that? But Xbox, I feel like they're really not doing anything to make it so that they stand out from anybody, really. They're not innovating. They're not changing how people look at games.
Now, I could go in depth with Redfall about how every major red flag was ignored by leadership at ZeniMax, leadership at Arcane Austin, and leadership at Xbox. I could talk about how this game never should have been released in the state that it was, but my brain is genuinely starting to hurt. Phil constantly talks about how he's not going to push against the creative direction of his studios, and I can respect that. However, you can't be an absent father and just let the kids fucking do whatever they want. Somebody has to step in and say, we need a Slayer playlist for Halo. What the fuck is going on with Redfall? Okay, we lost 70% of our staff and everybody that remains wants the game to be canceled. Okay, we'll cancel it. Somebody has to come in and make the big decisions, okay? Instead, Redfall was promoted as a major first-party title and Hi-Fi Rush wasn't. What's the standard anymore? Everything I've just said has been building to what I'm about to say now. If there's anything I want you to take away from this video, it's this. Microsoft is a software company. They produce software. They do not produce entertainment. They buy entertainment and sell it like it's software. Video games are entertainment. Technically, they are software, I know. But Microsoft no longer has the ability to cultivate or establish successful long-term franchises on their own. Instead, they rely on buying them, on buying IPs with loads of promise before inevitably running them into the ground and shelving them forever. They've been doing this since at least 2008. If you want your franchise to die, sell it to Microsoft. They've killed every golden goose they've ever got their hands on, and they will kill yours too. The big difference between now and back then is Microsoft knew how to promote a game. They would cough up the dough. They had a keen business sense for what would do well and how to promote it. They would push back creatively to figure out what was most important in a game. You can see this in the Gears of War development behind the scenes videos. They push back on things like the Chainsaw Lancer to see how important it is.
See that?
To the
People are playing
developers.
games.
It's like, yes, the Chainsaw Lancer was real fucking important. We need it. Oh, okay. All right. You can have it. It's like a test to see how confident a studio is in their vision, what they think is important. In my opinion, the role of a publisher is to push on creative decisions to find where the gold is. Where are the golden ideas? Everything worked out for Gears 1, but that's partially because Microsoft was taking an active interest in the game, promoting it as a killer app. I do not see or hear about this level of involvement with Xbox leadership anymore. Not interference, not involvement, absence. So in conclusion, these studio shutdowns isolated aren't a big deal. It's when you look at the bigger picture that you understand how bad things are right now for Xbox. And you know, I still love Xbox, but I've been wanting it to get back on track for over a decade. You say you hate disappointing Xbox fans, well, you disappointed me, Phil. And I'll continue to root for you guys and hope you do the right thing. And I'm just one guy, but I grew up with Xbox. And I can't tell you what it is anymore. But thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. It was a bit nihilistic and sad and depressing. Hopefully they can turn it around. I'll be streaming the Xbox Game Showcase on June 9th. We'll see then. We'll see. What do you think about Xbox in its current state? You agree with what I said? Disagree? Let me know in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to The Act Man for more awesome content. All right, everyone, that's all I got for today. This is The Act Man signing out. Peace.
All right, so that's the end of that. June 9th. They better bring something serious for Xbox. There's no excuse. We got a state of play. We have a state of play for PlayStation tomorrow evening. I will be doing a reaction to that. Ain't no way they got my stream in this same recommended. Ain't no way. We have a state of play for PlayStation tomorrow. Going to be covering, like, I want to say over 14 or 14 or 15 games for PlayStation 5 and PSVR. I'm not really interested in PSVR 2 because I'm not. I'm more interested in the actual games, so I'm going to be looking forward to that. But not only, PlayStation's got that happening tomorrow, and then on June 7th, we have Summer Game Fest. We have Summer Game Fest that is going to be covering both, PC, potentially maybe Switch, and also PlayStation and Xbox as well. Just a big old gaming convention. Rest in peace, E3. And then 2 days afterwards, Xbox is going to have a showcase. If it cannot match what, and I'm really hoping that State of Play is actually good tomorrow for PlayStation. I want to hear some good news. 10 days until June 9th. It's sink or swim now. Yeah, they got until June 9th to actually show something of value that can boost people's confidence in them after letting go 4 whole studios. So it needs to be 4 times better than the last showcase that they've done. I'll tune into it. I probably won't do a reaction to it, but when they have it, I'll probably tune into it to see what they got. And I'll just base my opinion from there. As far as everything else, I just want good games to be made for everyone. And for these big companies to say, hey, we trust you to make more of what makes us money, but also because you enjoy what you do. Okay, where's that level of confidence in games now? Where is that? Where people say, like, hey, you do what you do best. If you need anything from us, just let us know. And better renew Gears of War. If you need anything from us, just let us know. But we want you to succeed, and we'll just see how things go. We'll just see how things go. Where's that level of confidence where you say, like, we trust them to do what they do best, and we know they're going to do good, and we're giving them the freedom to do that. And when they're successful, we want them to keep succeeding. I want that for every single console, not just PlayStation, simply because I play on PlayStation mainly. That is my main console. I don't play on PC because my PC is for work, at least the current PC I have. I'm working on getting a new one. But I'm not saying that as a person who just loves PlayStation and loves PlayStation. And I love my PlayStation. I love the games that I have on it, and I love the games I'm going to be playing later down the line. But every console deserves to have games that everyone loves, and especially for Xbox. Like I say to every single Xbox player, you deserve more than what Microsoft is offering you. There is no excuse why they are letting studios go, and yet they are also a $3 trillion company, but they can't afford to keep people that would actually make you want to play their games more. There's no excuse for that. I call that gross incompetence. I'm not an expert in business, but I'm an expert in common sense. And what I see as common sense is Give the people more of what they like, and they will give us the money that we like. It's that simple. Just make it happen. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see if they got anything, if Xbox has anything for us for Summer Game Fest next week. We'll see if they have anything for their showcase the week after next. Their biggest game that they just dropped was Hellblade 2, and that released quietly, which is the last thing you want to do for a game that is and I've seen like just how the game looks. It looks phenomenal. It looks phenomenal. Notice I said looks. I don't know how it plays, but I've seen the photos people have been taking of Hellblade 2, and it just looks insane how good the face models and animations are, and how everything looks. It's on par, if not greater, than for Horizon Forbidden West's level of facial animations and such. It's that good. However, it was released recently, and it's just been quiet. You don't see anyone making any reviews of it. You don't see any ads for it. You don't see people praising the game or doing anything. It's just out there. So this is no time for Xbox to be quiet with what they got going on, because Lord knows they need to be making some noise. Otherwise, they're going to be turning into Who's in Horton Hears the Who, where you got to really amp up the sound in order for people to hear them. That's the last thing that Xbox needs right now. But that's just been my take. I know I've been ranting for a nice long while. I need to go ahead and eat my food and then start working on my Fallout video for you guys. Overall, this has just been my reaction to the Axeman's, the never-ending decline of Xbox. And all I can say is I hope the decline stops so it can start rising, so that gaming across the board has something for everyone. That's all I want. That's all I want. I just want everyone to enjoy games. But if these bad decisions continue, well, then it's only a matter of time. But we'll see. We'll see. But I'm done, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to go ahead and just bring everything down, and then bring my face right back over here. Hi, how are you? But I'm done, ladies and gentlemen. Desktop audio off. CDs, Holster, CJ, everyone who showed up here today, thank you for sticking with me during this whole deal. I got to prepare for tomorrow's the beginning after the end chapters, because the chapters are now dropping on Thursday instead of Friday, so that almost slipped my mind. But yeah, I'm done. I said my piece about Xbox. I'll probably talk about it more the next time we have a gaming session, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. All I can say to you is, hope you all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. Like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. So have a fantastic day, and once again, as always, later, peoples!